Planning Board members that are here today are Jeff Moore, David Rosacker, Chris Rupert, Jorge Sotolongo, Patrick Morris, Vice Chair, and I'm Michael Pate, Chairman. Members of the city staff that are in attendance today are Eric England, Assistant Planning Director, Mike Carter, Current Planning Manager, Jennifer Taylor of the City Law Department, and Kathy Epperson, our Recording Secretary. Our rules of procedures are as follows. Notice of this hearing has been published. Copies of today's agenda are located on the table in front of us. You're welcome to come down and pick one up. They're right here on this desk. The cases that are on consent agenda will be heard first. Consent cases have been recommended for layover, have already been heard, or perceived by the Planning Board to be non-controversial. Therefore, they will be read and voted on without the opportunity for you to state your opinion on the case. If you wish to have this case discussed during the hearing, you may remove the case from the consent agenda. To do so, when each consent case is read, I will ask if anyone wants the case removed for discussion. If you do, please stand up and say so, and the case will be removed. This case will then be heard after we vote on the cases that remained on consent agenda. When the case is heard, you will have the opportunity to come to the podium, clearly state your name and address, and give your testimony at that time. When hearing cases on the regular agenda, the board will first hear from the applicant, and after the applicant states their case, we will hear from the proponents, and then we will hear from the opponents. After both sides are heard, the public hearing will be closed, and no additional testimony will be permitted unless a board member requests additional information. When at the podium, please clearly state your name, address, and whom you are represented for the record. Your testimony is very important to us. In the interest of time and courtesy to others, please be short and to the point. We will try to limit each case to 10 minutes. Those directly involved in the case, please speak first. We request that large groups select a spokesperson to represent that group, therefore eliminating any repetitive testimony. When giving testimony, please provide new information and try not to repeat what has previously been said. We do ask that all speakers and others be treated with courtesy and with respect. In that regard, please remain silent while seated, and please turn off your cell phones. Our decision to approve, deny, or continue a case made here today will be forwarded to the City Council for another public hearing and final disposition by the City Council. Conditional use permits are an exception to this rule. The board's decision made here today on conditional use permits are final and not forwarded on to City Council. Lastly, upon the advice of the Law Department, all communications to board members from the attorneys or other interested parties should be transmitted through the Planning Department so that they are made part of the public record. The department will then transmit all information to the board as well as to the rest of the public. A current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act can be found in a white binder in this room. There are no changes that I have for the consent agenda, so we'll move forward with the consent agenda items first. And again, when I read these cases, we're going to read the consent agenda items that are on for approval first, and then the ones that are on consent agenda for layover. If you want any of those cases removed from either the consent agenda for approval or layover, please let us know, and those cases will be removed, okay? So the first case on, first item on for consent is item 5, case C-3-25308. Applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. It's on consent for approval. The request is approval of the disposition of city-owned property, location 2878 and 2876 Binney Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay. Next is item 11, case C-10-25-294, C-12-25-295. Applicant is Omaha 3 Investments, LLC. This is on consent for approval. The request is preliminary and final plat approval of Webster Corner, a minor plat inside city limits with rezoning from GC to R7 and approval of the waiver to section 5384A, lot depth. Location is southeast of 33rd and Webster Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 12, case C-10-25-298, C-12-25-299. The applicant is Matt Herzog. It's on consent for approval. The request is preliminary and final plat approval of Loveland Replat 12, a minor plat inside city limits along with expansion of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District. The location is 8201 Pacific Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Yes, sir.
You missed me. I didn't hear you or didn't understand you for 2878 Binney Street.
I haven't gotten to that one yet. What was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's on consent for, it's on consent for approval, which means that if we vote on it as a consent item and it's approved, it's done, okay? If you want it removed from consent, if you want to talk about it, particularly if you have an objection to it, then take it off consent and then it will be heard in the regular meeting.
Well, I want to talk about it.
You do want to talk about it?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll remove that item number 5 so that it will be heard after we read the consent items, okay?
Just wait.
Yeah,
Wait on the day.
We'll talk about it shortly.
yeah, after we get done with the consent items, then we'll talk about that one, okay? Okay, we got through 12, right?
I'll ask 12 again, just
Okay. All right, does anyone want to have item 12, which is the Matt Herzog? Want to have that one removed? No, okay. Okay, next is item 13, KC 10-98-172, C 12-25-302. The applicant is Tadros Development LLC on consent for approval. The request is preliminary plat approval of Deer Creek Plaza, a subdivision outside city limits, with approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Deer Creek. Portions of the property are located within the FF Flood Fringe Overlay District. The location is northwest of 120th Street and Military Road. Would anyone like to have this item removed?
Yep.
Did I hear somebody?
Yep.
You want to remove?
Speak up if you, yep, we'll remove it.
You're removing it, okay. Next is item 14, case C10-25-285. The applicant is Intentional Endeavors LLC on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from GC to TOD1MX along with a repeal of the ACI overlay district. The location is 3002 Dodge Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? All right. Next is item 15, case C10-25-290. Applicant is Community Information Trust on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from GC to TOD1MX to CC and TOD1MX, along with the repeal of the ACI overlay district for a portion of the site. The location is southwest of 72nd and Dodge Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 16, case C10-25-291. The applicant is Maximilian Comedy. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. The application, it's on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from DR to R5. The location is 5073 Kansas Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed?
Please.
You want that removed?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take that off. Next is item 17, case C10-08-220, applicant BHI Development, Inc., on consent for approval. Request is approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Kensington Park. The location is northwest of 204th and Q Streets. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 18, case C10-25-300. Applicant is Woodsonia Saddle Creek LLC. It's on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from GI to CC along with expansion of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District for a portion of the site. The location is northeast of 46th and California Streets. Would anyone like to have this removed?
Yes.
Okay, that will be removed. Next is item 19, case C10-01-195. The applicant is Doze and Dig LLC on consent for approval. Request is approval of a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for 180th Plaza. The location is 18010 R Plaza. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 20, case C10-25-286. The applicant is Luke Berglund on consent for approval. Request is approval of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District. Location is 4910 L Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 21, case C11-25-287. Applicant is Holland Basham Architects on consent for approval. Request approval of a PUR Planned Unit Redevelopment Overlay District. Location is 2510 South 61st Street and 2511 South 61st Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed?
Yes.
Next is item 22, KC 1025-292. Applicant is Grasshopper Investments, LLC, on consent for approval. The request is approval of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District. The location is 13780 Millard Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 23, KC 825-289. Applicant is Timur Konakar, on consent for approval. Request is approval of a special use permit to allow automotive sales in the CC district. The location is 5122 North 90th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item C 825-307. Applicant is RH Real Estate Company, LLC, on consent for approval. The request is approval of the special use permit to allow general retail sales in the GI district. The location is 4303 South 121st Plaza. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 26, KC 1025-284 C708-006. Applicant is Creighton Preparatory School, on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from R3 to R5 with approval of a major amendment to a conditional use permit to allow secondary educational facilities in the R5 district, along with a waiver to section 55-206 height to allow 50-foot tall field lights. Properties also located within an ACI 250 overlay district. The location is 7400 Western Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 30, KC 725-297. Applicant is Gary Hammer, on consent for approval. The request is approval of conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R1 district. The location is 9530 Davenport Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 31, KC 725-301. Applicant is Penn Architect, LLC, on consent for approval. The request is approval of a major amendment to the presumed conditional use permit pursuant to section 55883Q to allow religious assembly in the R3 district. The location is 5312 Underwood Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 32, KC 725-305. Applicant is Mark Sanford, on consent for approval. The request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R435 district. The location is 7603 North 29th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay, and the last one on for approval is item 33, KC 725-306. The applicant is Daniel Bazes. On consent for approval, the request is approval of the conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R435 district. Location is 6458 Franklin Street. Would anyone like to have this removed?
Yes, please remove those.
Okay. All right, those are all our cases on consent for approval. I'll now read, we have 2 cases on consent for approval, or for layover, thank you. First one is item 10, KC 1022-110. KC 1222-111. Applicant is Andrew Burscheid, on consent for layover. The request is preliminary and final plat approval of the Burscheid subdivision, a minor plat outside city limits with rezoning from AG to DR, along with approval of a waiver to section 5399. Sidewalks portions of the property are located within the FF flood fringe overlay district. The location is 24645 Pacific Street. Would anyone like to have this removed?
I think I do, but what is the consent for layover? I'm sorry.
That means if it's laid over, it could be brought back at a different date, because no action will be taken on it today if it's laid over, but it could come back at a later date.
Okay, can I not lay it over? Can I?
You can come up and testify, and
Okay.
we'll make a determine if it needs to be laid over, okay?
Sorry.
No problem.
This
You're
is my first
you're
time.
quite fine. Thanks for asking the question.
That was the kindest removal.
I know a lot of you are new to this, so. The next one on layover is item 27, KC 725-288. The applicant is Straight Line Design, This is also on consent for layover. The request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R2 district. Location is 5510 North 83rd Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay, that will remain. All right, so we have several cases that were removed from consent agenda, both for approval and for layover. Those cases, after we vote on the ones that remained on for approval and layover, that we vote on those first. Those cases that were taken off will be heard next in order that they were on the agenda, okay? So we have several cases on for layover, consented layover. Do I have a motion or for approval?
I motion to approve agenda items number 11, 12, 14, 15, 17, 19, 20, 22, 23, 25, 26, 30, 31, and 32.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Rupert. Yes. Mr. Chair,
Yes,
approved, 6-0.
thank you. Next, we have the one case that was on consent for layover. I'll need a motion for that case, please.
Motion to lay over case number 27.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Rupert. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
approved, 6-0.
thank you. We do have one case on the agenda that was withdrawn, and that's case number 28, so nothing will be done with that case, but I want to make it part of the record that case 28 was withdrawn as well from the agenda, okay? All right, so those cases that were on for consent approval that were taken off will now be heard next in order that they were on the agenda. And the first one is item 5. And so when I read these cases, if you are a proponent or an applicant, you'll have to testify or come up and testify. If you're an opponent, you'll testify on that as well, okay? So first one is item 5, case C3-25-308. The applicant is the Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. That's was on consent for approval. The request is approval of the disposition of city-owned property, location of 2878 and 2876 Binney Street. Eric, are you going to? Kathy or Kelly, you going to talk about that?
Hi, Kelly Johnson Dorsey, City of Omaha Planning Department. So these two properties are city-owned, and what you will be voting on would be just for that it is appropriate for the city to sell these properties. We did receive an application from someone who is interested in building 2 single-family homes. And then we've also, since staff has also spoken with an adjacent property owner who has utilities under the city-owned property. So we've conveyed that we would like to get a survey of the property to understand where those utility lines are, potential replatting or potentially selling that parcel directly to the adjacent property owner, because we don't want to do wrong by a neighboring property owner. But just, we need to get a survey to really understand what the conditions are underground. But again, what you would be approving today is just that the city is appropriate to sell these properties, whether to the adjacent property owner or to someone else, just that it's appropriate for the city to dispose of the properties.
Have you already ordered the survey?
We have not. We are in the process of outlining an email to get quotes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay. All right, are there any other proponents that wish to speak on this? Okay, are there any opponents? I assume you're here to maybe to oppose what's on the agenda. If you are, please come up and enter your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Willie Metcalf, and I own the property at 2880 Binney Street. And my sewer goes across my property line to property 2878. And I tried to purchase the property years ago, and the city offered to sell the property to me. And I requested the time, and they said, well, we'll sell it to you later when we get things figured out, because they said it was much cheaper to sell it, that lot to me in 2876 to do that. It would be much cheaper for me to own that property than to take my sewer from on the side street and put it directly in front of my house. So now I would like to purchase both lots so I can have the sewer on my property.
Are you across the street or you're next door? Okay.
So what we're doing today is voting on if the city can sell the property. That's what we're doing today, is so that you might be able to go ahead and purchase that, but that'll be up to the city and you. We just have to approve this so they can sell it. Does that make sense?
I didn't understand.
We're trying to approve the city to be able to sell the land. So,
Okay.
and then you would possibly put your name in there to purchase that land. But we have to approve the sale first,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, so, you got any idea what the property gonna cost me as of now?
You'll have to talk to the city about that once, we're just giving them authority to sell the property.
Okay, so you gonna get a survey and make sure the sewer is,
Correct.
and then you gonna get back with me and give me a chance to purchase this before you put it out for bid?
You know, what's that process? Kelly, you want to talk about the process to notify people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know this is kind of, you've been speaking with Mariana, and we know
Right.
we know you're interested in purchasing the property. So, and I'd spoken with them earlier. We don't want to do wrong by you, and so once we get a survey done, we'll give you a call and communicate with you whether it makes sense to purchase part of the property or all of the property, and we'll figure out whether we can sell it for less than appraised value or not. So we're just still finding out the facts of the case, but we'll continue talking with you about it because we know your
Okay.
situation. Yeah.
So, everything is just on hold for now, right?
We need to get approval to sell the property first, and then nothing's being sold right now. We need to get a survey, and then we need to have agreements to actually purchase the property, which would be at city council. But we'll continue working with you and talking to you about it. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you both very much. Okay. All right. Are there any other opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric?
Yeah, so I think Kelly addressed the process, so we'll continue to work with the interested parties, after we have more information with that survey. So staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yeah.
Rupert? Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Approved 6-0.
thank you. All right, the city will be in contact with you then and keep you posted on what's going on, okay? Thank you. All right, the next item that was pulled off consent for approval is item 13, KC 1098-172, C1225-302. The applicant is Tadros Development LLC, was on consent for approval. The request is preliminary plat approval of Deer Creek Plaza, a subdivision outside city limits with approval of major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Deer Creek. Portions of the property are located within the FF Flood Fringe Overlay District. The location is northwest of 120th Street and Military Road. May we hear from the applicant?
Members of the Planning Board, Douglas Dreesen, 10836 Old Mill Road, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Dr. Tadros, who's here in the back of the room. This is a kind of a resurrection of an old preliminary plat that was done, I want to say, back in 2005. It's remained primarily the same as that preliminary plat. There is a change for some multifamily to be considered on the northwest portion of the property. And I guess with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, are there any other proponents that wish to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, are there any opponents that wish to speak?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
My name's Kim Miller, and I'm a resident of the Deer Creek Homeowners Association. And this is my first time being here. I'm a retired nurse,
We just need your address.
6910 North 122nd Court. And one of my main concerns as I look at these plans, of course, we're very concerned because it was a wonderful green space, and it's changed the whole neighborhood. On Military, there is a tremendous amount of traffic since we've added some high schools on Military Road and a lot more development. But when I look at the plans, it looks to me like the exit out of a lot of this new development is going to be on Military. And as we come out of our street on 122nd, with the increased traffic, many times, depending upon the time of the day, you cannot hardly get onto Military. So I'm bringing a safety concern if the exit is coming onto Military Road, that it's going to become a huge traffic and injury potential. So I really hope that everyone looks at that. I'm seeing vehicles that are hit, they're totally spun around. And I think before this development goes on, that we need to look at the potential for public injury. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Are there any other opponents that wish to speak? Are you going to speak? Okay. Okay, that's all right. No other opponents on this? Okay. If not, Doug, you want to talk about the access points on this?
Sure. Military Avenue, both of those access points were approved with the original submittal. We've tried to stick to that original submittal with all of the frontage along Military. I understand the neighborhood concerns. That area has experienced significant growth since this plat was approved. My guess is Military will get improved shortly, and some of those accesses will be eliminated. We have a connection over to 122nd Street, ultimately with the development of this plan, which will direct the full movement out of the subdivision to 122nd Street. So I think what we have is a temporary condition at this point. And ultimately, when things get improved, which if you're having those kind of traffic problems up there now, they should be getting improved pretty soon. That will solve the problem.
Do you know, is that 122nd intersection, is that a full access intersection?
That's a full access.
Okay.
No. And I would assume it's going to remain a full access. The right in, right out, which is kind of a full access now, when Military gets improved, my guess is that gets stuck with a right in, right out. Right. Our understanding's always been that that's going to be a right in, right out. So we're okay with that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Right now, there's no light on that intersection.
What's that?
There's no light.
No light on that intersection.
No, I don't think there's lights on either one of those.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Doug. All right, I'll close the public hearing on this end. Eric?
Yeah, so we do have representatives here from Public Works Department if you'd like to answer any questions specifically about the traffic engineering. Based on the comments in the report, I don't believe this got to the threshold of requiring a traffic study, but we do have Ryan Haas that's available for questions. Usually when you have the undeveloped ground south of Military, future development might change the situation, but obviously if you would like to call Ryan down, we have
Ryan,
that option.
You want to talk about this a little?
Ryan Haas for the Public Works Department.
So you want to talk about traffic flows and traffic counts or anything that you know about this development? And
Yeah, like Eric mentioned, it's a little unique because the subject site is currently platted and zoned. So they could build by right by pulling a building permit presently. So this is just a replat. So what that means is there's not really a change in the assumed number of trips that would be generated from the site. So whatever they got approval for originally is assumed to be what they're going to generate now. So we didn't really have anything to point to require a traffic study. That being said, we could, if there's concerns from the SID, obviously the side street trips is going to be what drives the decision whether or not to put a signal at 122nd and Military. So if that's something that the SID that covers both the subject site here and the neighborhood to the north, if that's something they wanted to reach out and coordinate with the city and with Douglas County Engineer's Office, that's something that could be considered, but it would be something the SID would have to be the driver of.
when was the original plat submitted, do you remember?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's been a while. It's pretty old
Like
subdivision.
more than 5 years?
20
years?
or more, yeah.
So a lot has changed.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Ryan? Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay, Eric?
Zoning-wise, seeking a major amendment to make a few tweaks to the development plan as the applicant had discussed, adding some residential, which is always good for mixed-use development. So I don't have much to add other than staff recommends approval of the major amendment, subject to submitting an acceptable mixed-use development agreement prior to city council, approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 19 conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the major amendment to mixed-use development agreement for Deer Creek, subject to submitting an acceptable mixed-use district development agreement prior to forwarding to the request of the city council, and approval of the preliminary plat subject to the meeting the 19 conditions in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I closed the public hearing.
Sotolongo,
Yes. Nobody can hear the motion was void as far as I'm concerned.
Would you like me to read the motion again?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. Approval of major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement for Deer Creek, subject to submitting an acceptable mixed-use district development agreement prior to forwarding the request to the city council. Approval of the preliminary plat, subject to meeting the 19 conditions of the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Rupert, Morris,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
approved 6-0.
thank you. That case will be forwarded to city council, so if you want to testify to city council, you certainly have the right to do that as well, okay? Next is item 16, case C10-25-291. The applicant is Maximilian Kmeed. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. It's on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from DR to R5. The location is 5073 Kansas Avenue. May we hear from the applicant? How do you pronounce your last name? Go ahead and enter it into the record anyway for us.
It's Maximilian Kemdi.
MD, okay.
Yes.
And your address?
My address is 21210 Old Coach Road in Elkhorn, Nebraska.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you want to just give us a little brief overview of your project and what you're proposing to do?
Yes, this property is currently owned by the Omaha Land Bank, and current intent is to purchase that and divide it into two lots. One on the right side, I believe there's gonna be a duplex, and the other side there's gonna be a single family residence where I will be residing.
Okay, and you're going to live there, right?
Yes.
You're proposing to live there? Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other proponents that wish to speak?
Lucas Sode, 3727 North 108th Street. Good to see that the land bank is getting used. Good to see some infill in a neighborhood that needs all the investment it can get. One suggestion for the applicant is, if they weren't thinking all this already, have the townhomes extend, the two duplex halves extend over the garages, then pull sort of the foyer forward so it's forward of the garage face, if you will. Will make it a lot more neighborly and a lot less snouty, because snouts do not look good on houses, it turns out. And if you wanted to keep the square footage the same, you could take the space behind the pulled forward upper stories and have it be a rooftop deck, or you could just make the duplex bigger.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other proponents that wish to speak? Are there any opponents that wish to speak?
Hi, I'm a little embarrassed
I'll
to
need your
admit
name
this.
and
as a-
address for the
I'm
record,
sorry,
please.
Michael Kaufman, address is 9518 Davenport Street in Omaha.
Okay.
As a former attorney, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I was under the impression, and I'm obviously wrong, that if I did not speak up to have, asked to have something removed from the consent agenda, then I would have an opportunity to speak against it. But I do want to voice opposition to item number 30 on the agenda. And I'm sorry for speaking out of
Hold
turn.
on a
This
second
doesn't
before
concern
we
your
move.
property. I sincerely
Okay, we already
apologize
approved it.
for
Yeah, what time
my
did you
confusion.
get here in the meeting in time?
I did. I've been here since 12:45.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah, well, we had that on consent for approval, and I asked if anybody wanted it
I-
removed.
And I sincerely apologize for that, but I was confused. I was under the impression that if it was being asked to be removed, then I would not have a chance to speak out against it. But I do want to speak out against this one.
Unfortunately, a vote has already occurred, and with the conditional use permit, looking up at the advice of the legal department, I don't believe any recourse can be taken today.
Okay. Well, I've got,
But if you're going to talk about, we've already.
no,
voted.
I understand that. I've
So
got letters.
This is case number, what are we on? 16.
Apologize again.
Okay, so
I
if you're not
sincerely
going to talk
apologize.
16, I got to cut you off here, okay?
Okay.
I got to cut you off if you're not talking about case 16.
I'm not.
Okay.
Am I going to have an
We need
opportunity
to
to
take care
speak?
of business on number 16.
It's closed.
It's closed. Yeah, sorry, Michael.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so
This is going to go to city council, correct?
Unfortunately, it was a conditional use permit. Those do not proceed to city council, so it will not.
okay, did we get a motion?
Ask for opposition.
Oh, no, opponents. Are there any opponents to number 16? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on this. Eric, please.
Staff recommends approval. It's compliant with the master plan.
Okay, do I have a motion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is item number 18. Oops.
I would request if we could delay number 18 until the similar item that's a TIF item, agenda number 8, if we can delay that till then.
You bet. We'll take those together. Thank you. All right, the next one then is item 21, case C11-25-287. The applicant is Holland Basham Architects. It's on consent for approval. The request is approval of the PUR Planned Unit Redevelopment Overlay District. The location is 2510 South 61st Street and 2511 South 61st Avenue. May we hear from the applicant?
Hello, Bill Lukash, Brinshore Development, 903 South 184th Avenue Circle. We have a number of people here to speak, so I'm just letting you know I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, any other proponents, please?
My name is Joa Bustard. I'm with Holland Basham.
What's your first name?
Joa, Joah.
Okay.
119 South 49th. I submitted on behalf of Omaha Housing Authority. Would be happy to answer any questions on the site or zoning or the building.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any other proponents that wish to speak?
Good afternoon, Joni Balk, 1823 Harney Street, Omaha Housing Authority. It was my understanding potentially there were some questions related to relocation, so I brought some information about relocation and just wanted to share some data if there is any information that's needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other proponents that wish to speak? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Please come forward. We got two of you, two? How many? Three, four? A couple? Okay. Just come up front here, and then when it's time, we'll get you in front of the mic here. Okay. Name and address.
Michael Elliott, 2602 South 61st Street. I'm here, I'm third generation in this house. My mother is in her name still. I got many questions about it. One, on the south and west side, the retaining wall. Okay, is that the 15-foot retaining wall that they're wanting rezoned, or is it the one on just the south side off 61st? I don't know, because if it's the one On the west side, that's a hill. That's a bank that they're going to be building into. And if they're going to shrink down that easement or whatever, it's like 14 feet. We get a snow like we had the other day, and it's just going to pack in. So that's just one question. How was that was the rear yard, 25 foot, and they're saying not applicable is what they're giving. The other thing, with retaining walls, you're talking multifamilies, everything else in this, and you're going to put a 15-foot retaining wall in someplace? I worry about kid safety there. Then once again, how tall is the south retaining wall? That's both of them. The other thing is there's not enough space. I've lived next door to this place forever. There's plenty of play area for all the kids, just front yards, backyards, everything else. This new one that they have, that's just a little courtyard. You can't have a playground, a courtyard, and that, and expect a whole bunch, half dozen kids to play in that little area. The other thing is the parking. Now, it's saying that they need 95 parking stalls for this place. They only have 55, and so they want to put parking back on the street. Now, 61st Street used to have parking on both sides, and they found out that the fire trucks, emergency equipment, stuff like that will not fit through there. And so they came in because of the parking from 2510, 2511, and they made the west side of 61st Street no parking. So I don't see how that would be possible at all. And, the other thing is just the tenants that stay down there, last summer especially, I don't care what night of the week it was, 4 o'clock in the morning, there's music going on down there. They're out in the parking lots, hanging out, big groups of them. Fights break out all the time.
Where are you referring to? Where are you?
The current apartments.
On the site, okay.
That are currently there. Yeah. Like I said, there's plenty of play area for the kids in that, but the tenants and people that stay there, years ago, when it was Armstrong or that, we used to talk with him about it and tell him that there's brand new cars in his lot and everything else. And he came in and he would take care of it. He would work with us. But ever since then, I have no idea who to get a hold of. It's gotten out of hand. And I know for a fact that they issued an eviction notice to the tenants on both places of, I think, June 31st of this year. There are still people living there that were supposed to have been out the 31st of June. So, they're just hanging on. They're just, I don't know what's going on with that, but it's been bad enough with the, 30-some two-story, main level or that, tenants and that, but to go to a 4-story building in that neighborhood, in 95 places, and then have a parking issue in that, and like I said, a play issue for the kids, I have serious problems with that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. Any other opponents? Please name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Rita Kasarik, and I reside at 2507 South 61st Street.
What's the first name again?
Rita Kasarik.
Okay.
And I reside at 2507 South 61st Street. Okay. I am a homeowner. I've worked very hard for my home, and I have been at war at OHA since I purchased my home in 2009. I am begging you right now, they have 16 units over there, 12 2-bedroom and 4 3-bedroom. Okay. Originally, I met this nice gentleman behind me when he came along with this plan in 2023, okay, of 70 units, assuring me I'd have a nice green space in front of my house, okay? And now we are in 2025. We still have 7 families living over there. There is no management, no cameras, no code of conduct. Okay, the parties in the parking lot with the gangs, okay, and mind you, OHA claims that there are no gangs in Arbor Villa. Well, excuse me, let me rewrite that, AKA baby daddies, undocumented tenants. Thank you very much. Okay, and so then a month ago, I received this in the mail where they're just trying to project it down to 55 units from 70. Currently, there are only 16 that are not properly managed. In this time that I'm living there, in the 16 years, I've been threatened with my life As a matter of fact, this morning I was chased down by a pit bull of tenants that are still living over there. Okay, I've had my son's life threatened. I've had my car windows broken out twice. I've had my stepson's car windows smashed out and tires slashed. When I helped you out in a murder case, okay, on Arbor Villa, your police officers of Omaha, City of Omaha, came to my house requesting my footage to solve your murder case. When I have been begging Terry Spencer and Mary from OHA and Omaha Housing Authority to please have security cameras, better lighting on this property. Now you want to tear down an eyesore and build a bigger problem. Okay, and in the new plans, the parking lot has been moved directly in front of my house, which I'm not happy about at all. I'm this close to paying my house off. I would like to enter retirement in a very peaceful manner. And the quieter it has been in my 16 years of living here is in the last year and a half when you started removing tenants from that building. Okay, so my also thing is, I could be happy if this was something with UNO, with a new baseball field, okay, to better the neighborhood, but we can all see by some of the youth today, of what just happened at Zarbin Village Cinema, that a lot of children are unparented and running around the neighborhood. Okay, so this has been an ongoing problem of unparented children harassing tenants and people that are actually homeowners in the neighborhood. Okay, you could probably check my records with OPED, and I've probably called 911 at least 40 times due to 2009, okay? Not just for me, but for people violently beating up on each other, assaulting each other, and with guns being drawn. I don't go outside of my house anymore because I've installed a $4,000 camera unit so I can watch from the safety of inside my house. So I am begging you that this is a very bad decision to allow 55 units to be built over 16 mismanaged, poorly managed units. And I thank you for your time.
So question for you real quick here. So where is your house in proximity to these? Is it
Right across the street.
right across the street?
Yes, I face 4 units from 2502, I believe, to 2509.
So you're on 61st Street?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, all right. And the issues that you've raised are alarming.
They are very alarming. I'm afraid for my
Let me
life.
finish what I'm going to ask you here. Very alarming. If we do nothing, if we leave it as it is, you're still going to have the problems unless they get those tenants out of there, it sounds like.
Yes, and there's people actually living in the parking lot right now.
So the proposal is to build new units, and are you in favor of the units, or do you just don't want anything there?
I would be in favor of lesser units, and if they would have put proper security up, or even security at other OHA buildings, they have security that tours around in cars. I've requested this since 2009.
Okay, that's what my.
And there's no cameras anywhere, and for years, I had to argue with them to even put lights back over the parking lot.
You're talking them being OHA.
Right now, OHA Arbor Villa, which is now about to be torn down, and they're asking to build this new Terrence Villa.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, great.
I appreciate your
I might
time.
have another question for you later, but that's good. Thank you for your input. Appreciate that. Okay. Any other opponents?
Yeah, Jim Armstrong, 2518 South 62nd Street. I have to agree with everything this lady that ahead of me just said. I get guys coming through my yard, way up where I live. We hear that music, car horns, car alarms going off all times of the night. I've had to deal with, and I've been in my house for 25 years now, and I called the Omaha Housing Authority, the gal I was dealing with down there, I think her last name was Poor, got absolutely nothing from her. Nothing. Then you turn around, I seen some guys down there, and they were the maintenance guys. And I asked them, I said, how do you get in contact with anybody to do anything at this place down here? And they go, well, you just call, and they gave me your number. I said, I've already got that one. That one didn't work. I said, so what's next? They go, we don't know. She just cut our staff by 18 members. We lost 18 maintenance people.
When was this?
This was probably had to be about 7, I'd say 6 years ago, maybe 7. And the other thing is the parking down there. You don't have the parking, and you're not going to park on Arbor Street unless you're going to make that a 4-lane road. Because if you go down there during graduations, hockey games, concerts and everything. UNO sits up there on up on 60th Street, and they're just directing the traffic like this. So everything comes to a dead halt. Now you're going to have cars here, and you're going to have cars trying to come up here. Where the hell are you supposed to get through at? You can't say, because you can't get through. And this could last for 45 minutes at a time. And now you want to put 55 units up there? You got to think about this a little bit. You're going to double plus what you got down there now. And there are gangs, and there are people that, you know, if they lived next to you, you'd be calling OPD every day. So let's get this straight. Let's get it straight now. You can't put double the people down there. You don't have the parking. You don't have the ground to do it. And it's going to end up being the same thing that it is before, or that it is now.
And
Where
Jim,
does it stop?
Jim, where's your house in proximity? to
I'm
that?
up, you'd have to go up one more block. It's not even on here. But I got 2518 South 62nd Street.
Okay, this way.
But yet they come right through my yard. Everybody,
Okay, so how do you know they're from those?
because they cut through the empty lots that are
But
across
how do you
the
know
street.
they're from there?
Because I see them cut across.
And go to those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is.
You've got
this is
apartments. You
just
got
a-
apartments right by the arena, right?
Yeah, you got Broadmoor apartments there.
Please, no outbursts.
Yeah, that's just a hill right there. That's for the sewer separation project that you got back there.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I mean, but you got to rethink this. And if you got any answers, I'd like to hear them.
Yeah, we'll call the applicant
Unless
back
you're
up
going to
here in a
have
bit.
security down there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and be able to maintain it, which you couldn't do the units you got down there now. What are you going to do at 55? Tell me. I don't hear nothing. You guys hear anything?
No, we'll get the applicant back up here in a second.
So I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, and you.
Sir, address the board,
So
please.
let's hear it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're talking to us, okay? Okay, any other opponents? Okay, Bill or whoever, several of you probably need to come back up anyway to talk about.
Hi,
So
Bill
again, your
Lukash,
name and
Bryn Shore
address.
Development, 903 South 184th Avenue Circle. A couple of things. First of all, the property is going to be owned by Arbor Limited Liability Company, and it will engage with the Selden Property Management Company to manage the property. It will not be managed by, excuse me, the Omaha Housing Authority. We have Selden then engage with the security company to manage the properties. That's the case with all the developments that we do here in Omaha.
So I just want to make sure I understand that correctly. The management will be completely different from how it currently is to how it will be.
Correct. It will
There
be
will be a
managed by-
private management company that contracts with a private security company.
That's correct.
And the ownership as well.
The ownership.
The ownership will also.
It is not the Omaha Housing Authority, correct? Right.
Okay.
So that's the basic structure of how this is going to work. There are market rate units in there. There are affordable units. Some of those affordable units, about a third or maybe a little bit more, will be supported by project-based vouchers by the Omaha Housing Authority. So these 55 units are all built to the same standard. They're contemporary, very modern, very nice, because we have to attract market rate tenants as well. And part of that attraction of the market rate tenants is that we have a property that's properly upkept, that is safe, that is clean. And, you know, the ownership group that owns these developments works very closely with the Selden Company to make sure that our properties stay in those conditions. We have developments on North 30th Street and some going up in South Omaha on South 30th Street. So, you know, those are good examples of what we try to aspire to with all of the properties that we own.
Do you have private security on those properties?
I'm sorry?
Do you have private security for those
Yes, we
developments
do.
as well?
Right. Joe, I was wondering if you could maybe come up and talk a little bit about some of the parking situations in those.
Hey, Bill, could I ask you a question?
Yeah, sorry.
If there's a bad apple that winds up being in these units, Is it the responsibility of your companies to ask them out if the vouchers are being paid by OHA? Or is that up to OHA to have to come down on somebody and say, you're not living up to the standards that we want you to represent this whole community? You're gone. Who's making that decision if something goes bad?
So there's a process that would happen between the housing authority and who's providing the voucher and the Selden Management Company. And I don't know the exact details of how that is navigated, but that's where that decision point would be.
Hi, again. Joni Balk, Omaha Housing Authority, 1823 Harney Street. So for a voucher, the tenant is renting there with a voucher, but their landlord is the property owner, so it's not OHA. And if they violate a lease, they would be subject to the terms and conditions of whatever that violation is. So maybe it's that they receive a notice that they need to rectify something, or maybe it's something that's evictable. Okay. But
not your decision.
It is not our decision.
Okay.
What leverage does OHA have then,
So,
if any?
Sure. The tenant and the landlord both are responsible for following the terms and conditions of the Housing Choice Voucher, what you more commonly know as Section 8 contract. So the tenant is responsible for paying 30% of their income towards rent. The landlord is responsible for keeping the property owner is responsible for keeping the property up to specific inspection standards. OHA pays the remainder of the rent that's not covered by the tenant, those sorts of things. If the property owner does not keep the house up to standards, then our contract allows the tenant to break their lease and to move without facing repercussions, those sorts of things. So those protections are in place to ensure the tenant pays their portion of rent. If they don't, they would face eviction as they would face for any other lease violation.
This may be a question for Bill, but is there a land use restriction that requires that this property maintain a mixed income status?
We are applying for low-income housing tax credits to support this development, so there would be.
And then
What is the percentage of mixed income or market rate again? I'm sorry. What is the percentage of market rate units again?
It's usually like a third of the development. I don't know the exact number right now off the top of my head.
So in order to maintain compliance with the low-income housing tax credits, you have to maintain the
A certain
percentage of
number-
market rate units.
The low-income housing tax credit units, yeah.
Okay.
And we'd have to, well, yes. I guess I'm-
My point is that the market rate units do give you an incentive to keep the property in favorable conditions. And let's just say nobody wanted to rent those market rate units. Are you then allowed to go full affordable?
They're going to be market rate units.
They will stay market rate units.
Okay.
And then the project-based voucher contract is a long-term 20-year contract. So
And I am aware
there's
that
land
just
use
to
restriction.
apply for these credits and to get awarded, you do have to have a mixed income.
Yes.
But I just wanted to make sure I understood what the mechanism is there to ensure that it stays mixed income,
Yeah, that's the land use restriction.
the land use restriction. Okay.
And also, it may not hurt to just kind of revisit. So I did go around the neighborhood a couple of years ago, as was said earlier, and tried to talk to neighbors a little bit about the development. At that time, we were considering a 74-unit development with underground parking that would allow for some green space on would be the northwest or northeast corner of the property. We were not awarded tax credits at that time because our development was essentially too expensive per unit. We had underground parking and all these kinds of things. So we had to scale it back. We scaled it back from 74 units to 55 units to make it more affordable. During that process, between when we applied and after we learned that we didn't get them, we heard that the northeast corner of the property would now be located in floodplains where it previously wasn't before. So that added some complications to the site. And it is no doubt a complicated site physically to get this building on. So we had to make some changes, and part of that was giving up some of the green space that I was sure that we were going to have on the northeast corner. So it is my fault for not conveying that to neighbors that we did have to make a change in the design. We did try to keep as much green space on that corner as possible, but once the parking had to be pulled out from underneath the building, it had to go over into that floodplain area because we cannot build the building over there. We have some very tight conditions there. So again, that is my fault for not conveying that to the neighbors. I just forgot to do it, and so I apologize for that.
You want to address the parking issue that was raised as well?
The 55.
I just drove by, I was at the event there last night, actually, and I just drove down that Arbor Street there, and it's a pretty narrow street there, as it is. And I know there's no parking allowed on that street, but where's the overflow parking going to? Because there was some, I noticed on, I think it was the apartments, they had parallel or vertical parking along Arbor Street there, on their site there. I don't know if that's in the proposal or not.
Well, and that's why I'd like the architect to maybe talk about that a little bit, because I'm not super knowledgeable about all the different steps that we've taken to get to where we are with the parking situation.
Joe Buster again, Holland Basham Architects. Get this. There you go. So as Bill mentioned, we reduced the size and scale of the project about a year and a half ago. Part of that was eliminating the underground parking that we were going to locate basically under this leg of the building on the west end. And with that, with the reduction to the units to 55, in our experience in multifamily housing, we do lots of multifamily housing in the Omaha area, projects east of 72nd Street. It's pretty common for us to park them at one parking stall per unit. Current zoning restrictions or requests, tend to be a little higher than that, and so we oftentimes come here and get waivers down to that one per unit level. And in some studies, there was a study done by Walker recently, if you're familiar with them or the result, utilization actually can be sometimes less than that depending on the property. So it's always something that's difficult to navigate and to predict. We will admit, but sort of in our experience tends to not be as big of an issue as a lot of people think. There would be additional overflow would need to happen on the street is sort of where it would go if in the case.
On Arbor Street?
Yeah.
But there's no parking allowed on Arbor Street.
Arbor Street is 61st Street.
What was that?
61st Street.
61st Street.
And repeat the numbers. What's the parking count again?
55.
55,
parking stalls,
so 1-to-1.
Including the ADA stalls and some compact stalls in there. So yeah, it's 1-to-1.
I'm not terribly concerned with the parking ratio, to be fair. What I do hope to see is some coordination between the design team, the developer, and at least Rita, because she's across the street, just so that her safety concerns are addressed. And also lighting. I mean, she's kind of exposed to some lighting there too. Lighting's good. It provides security, but there can be some intrusive, lighting at play. So are you guys willing to then coordinate with those neighbors to the east?
Absolutely. Let me pull up the landscape plan here. And, the city's comments, the PR acceptance is in contingency of doing a couple modifications to the landscaping plan. We do have shrub screening right here. So quite a few trees you can see on the 61st Street. And then underneath those is a row of 4-foot minimum trees along that edge of the parking, which would intend to kind of visually screen at night if there's headlights. It kind of blocks headlights when the vehicle pulls in there. So that's sort of where we're at currently. But yeah, we'd be more than happy to address the neighbors' concerns and kind of work with them to get a solution.
Thank you for the added context there, Joe.
Yep.
Michael had a question about retaining walls and their location and how that was going to work, if you would address that.
Yeah, so as they mentioned, it is a steep hill here, especially on the west end. It's heavily treed, sort of on all sides there. So the 15-foot retaining wall would be this corner, this back corner here on the southwest. We do have 3 units that are within that retaining wall zone. It's about 10 feet from their door window to the back of that wall. We've talked as a team with Brinjar and everyone else as the opportunity that it could give some private sort of backyard space to those units and sort of fencing off for security reasons on the north end there. So, there isn't individuals traversing back there. There will be a fence on top of the retaining wall as well, given the height. There is another one on the south end here and on the east half, it's not quite as tall. It's below 10 feet. And the building's kind of partially buried into the hill here as well. And back here is a trash room, maintenance, and a storm shelter and whatnot that don't require windows.
Do you guys consider any other size of a building other than 4-story or 3-story building on this site?
We did a number of studies, especially earlier on when we had the 70 plus units. The 4 stories doesn't really work funding wise. It kind of jumps us up into another construction type, which ends up being more expensive. And it would only really add density to the project. And then given the NIFA funding and all the requirements for that, the units are pretty much set. We can't really go any smaller than what we currently have. The NIFA requires certain space sizes per bedroom, per living area. And so that's basically what sets the building size as where we're at here.
Let me add a little bit to that. Bill Lukash, Brinshore Development, 903 South 184th Avenue Circle. So, and he doesn't really know the bigger context, but this is part of the Choice neighborhood effort to redevelop Southside Terrace Garden Apartments. And there are, 700 people that we have to build housing for under that process. So every development site that we're working on has a budget of the number of units that we sort of need to hit. Southside Terrace Phase 1 is 92. Southside Terrace Phase 2 and 3 are in the 110 to 120 range. So we have a plan to sort of budget them out. Originally, we hoped to do 74 here, but we realized that that wasn't going to work. We downsized to 55. If we were to downsize or upsize, it has a ripple effect through our other redevelopment efforts in South Omaha. So one of the great things about this site is that it gives people a real opportunity to get affordable housing that isn't in South Omaha. If they want to live in Midtown, Exarban, Village area, that this is a great location for them to make that decision and live there. So 55 is where we're at now with our budget. That's what we submitted to NIFA for, the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority, for low-income housing tax credits. We can't really go a lot smaller or any smaller right now because we're locked into that number with NIFA. If we wouldn't get a tax credit award, then we could maybe look at it again, but that's where we're at right now. It's what we need to kind of meet our overall housing goals for the Choice neighborhood effort.
Great, good explanation. Thanks.
Quick question for you, Bill, before you sit back down.
Yeah.
Who is the current owner of the property today? Is it Brinshore or is it Omaha Housing?
It's River City Housing, I think. It's not Brinshore. I don't think it's the Housing Authority. I'm not sure. I guess I'm wrong.
Somebody owns it.
Hi again, Joni Bulk, 1823 Honey Street, Omaha Housing Authority, a subsidiary of Omaha Housing Authority. Housing in Omaha owns the property.
Okay, because my one concern here is there's a couple concerns, and I don't know where we're going to go with this, but no matter what we decide we do, I would want someone to go over there, and if people are living there
Certainly.
after they've should have vacated, we just need to make sure that the safety for them and for the neighbors and everybody.
So the property currently is 18 units. 9 of them are occupied.
Okay, so they are still occupied.
9 of them are currently occupied. The building has not been given a vacate notice.
Okay.
So that's not. We do have regulated times when we must provide tenants with notice that we do intend to redevelop the property. So residents have been given some of those notices, but none of them were a specific eviction notice or a notice saying you have to be out by X time period. But there have been some notices saying, yes, we do intend to redevelop this property. And so some of those have gone out. We've secured units using a product called DOGS, DAWGS. It's a very industrial metal apparatus that goes over doors and windows to prevent individuals from entering units. It's not 100%, but it's worked extremely effectively both at this location and throughout Southside Terrace to prevent individuals from getting into units after they've been vacated. If there are individuals who are squatting, staying in parking lots, those sorts of things, we do have an external security company, Signal is who we contract with, and they do cover this property. If we have additional needs, which it certainly sounds like we do, I will be reporting that to them today.
Okay, thank you so much.
You were linked with OHA, correct?
I'm linked with OHA?
Are you with OHA?
Yes.
Okay. Heard some pretty alarming.
Certainly.
And so something's not working.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's fine. You say sure, but what are you going to do about
Well,
it?
I think based upon what I'm hearing, it sounds like we have some concerns with the security response that isn't adequate, so that needs to be addressed immediately. If individuals from this property are and our neighbors are contacting the police department, we have a very close relationship with Chief Gray and others. So reaching out to them to find out what is the rate of calls, what are the issues that they're seeing, understanding what it is that we need to be doing to be responding if they are seeing an increase or just a steady call volume, and understand what we're seeing there. Are they responding to gang affiliated issues? Do we have the gang unit out there doing intervention? All of those different pieces. So making sure that we are being responsive to that. This isn't a property that we are ignoring. It's a property that we actively manage. And certainly as neighbors, if you've been experiencing those difficulties for a long time, it can be really frustrating. So it can just be wearing. At this point, we do want to redevelop the property. We know that it's not working for us and the neighborhood in the way that it needs to. So this is the opportunity to do that.
Okay. So
And in the
what kind-
meantime, addressing things with OPD, addressing things from a security perspective.
Yeah, well, I think it was Rita, was it? Yeah.
Directly across the street, yes.
Yeah, that lives across the street there. I mean, she testified that she's called OHA several times and got very little response, and so did Michael, I think, as well. So
I'm here. I'm happy to talk to anyone, take
Well,
their
and I
information,
encourage-
and
I-
follow up.
okay, and that's good. And and talk is extremely vital and important.
Sure.
But talk is talk,
Sure.
right? What we really need is action to be
Sure.
taken there to make sure that the public safety is paramount.
Absolutely.
Not just for the residents there, but for the neighborhood there as well. So I would encourage you to get together and continue to communicate and talk, but to really enforce some action. If those accusations are accurate, which I believe that they probably are, then something needs to be done.
I'm happy to speak with them as soon as we're done here and to coordinate with the Omaha Police Department. We've had really great responses at other properties in addressing issues and concerns, whether it's with individuals that are at our property or individuals coming and going from our locations that aren't necessarily tenants but are not there for great reasons.
If this moves forward, what would be the vacate time for those 9 remaining families or people that are in the?
It depends on the tax credit award. I don't have a specific timeline. Once we receive that award and we know when demolition would happen, then we back up from there. So I wish I could tell you the exact date, but I don't know it, and I don't want to say something that would be inaccurate.
That's okay.
And I had some questions with regards to the relocation fees in the pre-meeting as well. So if they're relocated to wherever, right? Say New York City, right? Is there a limit on the relocation fees that are paid out for people to relocate?
Yes, there are limits on relocation fees. More broadly, backing up for just 1 second, more broadly, all tenants, because this is part of the choice neighborhood, are provided with uniform relocation assistance as guaranteed by the government, because there are government dollars coming into the redevelopment that are happening here. And because this is CNI, they have the right to return. So individuals are assisted with their relocation efforts and then have the opportunity to return back to the property. This property or any of the other properties in this redevelopment effort once they are rebuilt and reopened. So, but there are specific limits. You can't just necessarily move and relocate endlessly and wherever. If someone, what you're speaking of is somebody porting a voucher. That wouldn't be relocation. That would be somebody getting having a voucher and then moving to a different jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction would have to agree to take that individual. And there are limits to that according to our administrative plans.
All right, and then I'll just make one final editorial comment. I've kind of given my editorial comment about what I think needs to happen right now. If this goes forward with the new development, I think the security, both private and just the security, is paramount to this project. So you've got to work with the neighborhood to make sure that they feel comfortable with the security that's going, if this goes forward as well.
And we can share our direct security contact information too with them so that they have that, and it's not a question of who to contact.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, we're on opponents, aren't we? Or have we? Yeah, okay. All right. I'll bring you back up. Come on up. I'll bring you back up just very, very briefly.
And then I want to talk to you because you
No, talk to us, please.
He's got down here 55 units. And then above that.
We need your name and address again.
Jim Armstrong, 2518
Thank
South
you.
62nd Street. And he says that, okay, well, we're going to, and you said that you're not worried about the parking. Okay, you got 1.5 vehicles for the one-bedroom places, according to him. You got 2 stalls or 2 parking spots for the 2-bedroom, and you got 2 for the 3-bedroom. That's 90 stalls. So you're
Okay, talk to us.
Okay, so
I'm
he's
good.
40 cars. He's 40 cars. What are you going to do with 40 cars? 40 vehicles that you can't park. You can park on one side of the street. You go down Arbor Street, you can't park on either side. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And he knows that you can't go down Arbor Street when they're having graduations, baseball games, hockey games. Now they're going to build another place down there. You can't do that down that street. It's impossible. You got to find another way, or they got to find another way. And 55 units down in that small area is too many.
Okay, we've heard
Just
you.
because he's getting the incentives to throw it in there.
Okay, great. We appreciate it. Thank you. We've got.
So let's cut it in
we've got the
half.
message.
You might have a chance.
We've got the message. Thank you. All right. Any other opponents that haven't spoken yet? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric.
Yeah, so this project is a PUR, which is Planned Unit Redevelopment, which means the plans that are before the planning board, in which will go to city council, really lock in the project. There can be minor adjustments outside of that, but really it sets in stone kind of what the project will look like, what the layout is, subject to some of the landscaping requirements that'll be part of the recommendation report that Joa had briefly mentioned. So, there is that benefit with the PUR that what you're getting, and there were no building elevations that were shown, but it's this building meets our highest design criteria for building materials in the city of Omaha. Regarding parking, we have an outdated parking requirement in our zoning code. What was just mentioned is the current Omaha code requirement. However, for over the past dozen years, we have been supporting reduction of parking on site from one parking stall per one residential unit. And we will have further changes that go to the greater Omaha area in the coming months that will also support that ratio. So staff is more than comfortable with what is being proposed regarding the parking count and the unit count in general as well. So that being said, staff recommends approval of the PUR subject to submittal of final plans prior to city council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the PUR overlay district subject to submitting an acceptable final PUR development plans prior to forwarding the request to city council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Mr. Chair?
Just a comment before I vote. I think the project is an enhancement to that area. I think it'll enhance that area. You've heard my concerns with it, and I can't emphasize enough. I think the importance of the public safety aspect of the development. It's got to happen, and the communications with the neighbors have to take place in the development phase of this. But I think overall the development will enhance that area. I am concerned a little bit with the parking area. We've had this discussion on other parking issues across several projects as well, but I'm a little bit concerned with it because that area is pretty tight in there as it is. But I think it's an enhancement, and I'll support that, so I'll vote yes.
Approved, 6-0.
Thank you. All right. Next item is number 33, I believe. Yes, item 33, which is case C7-25306. The applicant is Daniel Bazes. So it was on consent for approval. It's pulled off. The request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R435 district. The location is 6458 Franklin Street. Here we hear from the applicant. Is the applicant here? No? Any proponents?
Lucas Thode, 3727 North 108th Street. Go to the applicant, go for it. Just don't forget that you're putting another dwelling unit in the building, so you need to fire separate the two so that the fire downstairs doesn't instantly become a fire upstairs. A couple tips on that: ductless HVAC is a big help because you don't have to worry about registers and ceiling radiation dampers that you cannot get from Home Depot. Surface mounting light fixtures, that gets you down. And then your 5A Type X, your hat channels, putty pads, fire caulk. Remember that stuff.
Got it. Thanks, Lucas.
Oh, one more thing. Tilt turns make really good egress windows. Just another thought since it's the basement unit.
Well noted. Any other proponents? Are there any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric?
Yeah, I just want to reassure Lucas, we'll make sure that our code officials make sure they follow all the fire separation. But yeah, anytime you have an internal ADU and converting a basement space, that is part of the process. So thank you for pointing that out.
I don't think, this is more aimed at the applicant. I know your fire officials were good.
Okay.
But just
All right.
want them to get it right the first time.
Thank you,
And
thank
not have to go out to tear it out again because the fire officials said they did it wrong.
Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for an ADU in the R435 district, subject to the 4 conditions in the report.
Thank you. Any comments? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R435 district, subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. All right, that completes all of the consent approval items on the agenda. We'll now move into the one case that was pulled off of for layover, consent for layover, and that was case C10-22-110, C12-22-111. The applicant is Andrew Berscheid, is on consent for layover. The request is preliminary and final plat approval of the Berscheid subdivision, a minor plat outside city limits with rezoning from AG to DR, along with approval of a waiver to section 5399. Sidewalks portions of the property are located within the flood fringe, FF Flood Fringe Overlay District. The location is 24645 Pacific Street. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am here.
Come on up, please. Name and address for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Brooke Wells, and my address is 501 North 40th Brook.
Brooke.
My address is 501 North 46th Street, apartment 5403, Omaha, Nebraska. I am hoping that we can get this consent for approval, I'm guessing. I filled out the paperwork for Andrew Berscheid. I am his executive assistant.
What's your relationship to the,
I work for him.
you work for?
I work for Relax Pools.
Okay.
So I know that I submitted all of the paperwork. The business is no longer running out of 24645 Pacific Street. It is now at 610 Dryers Road in Waterloo, Nebraska. I also included the lease for the new location.
Is there anything operating on this site right now?
No, it's
Nothing?
just, no, he wants to build another house, and that's why he wants to redo the plat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other proponents? Are there any opponents? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Eric, please.
Yeah, so staff is recommending layover for this. As Brooke had mentioned, there was previous a business operating or at least storage off of the site through code enforcement action. That has been remedied, so we do appreciate that. However, there are still zoning code violations such as vehicles parking on grass, unpaved surfaces, as well as container storages and storage areas which are not allowed in the applicable zoning. So those additional zoning violations need to be addressed before staff is comfortable recommending approval. So for that reason, we do not believe that this should move forward other than the layover. So staff is recommending layover.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Do I have a motion?
Motion to layover.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. All right, those were all of our consent cases, I believe. So we're done with consent. We'll now move into the administrative part of our meeting. And in this portion of the meeting, we will talk about these as a board here, but there will be no public testimony in the administrative part of the meeting. There's 4 items on the administrative part of the meeting. The first one is item 1, KC 12-25-108. The applicant is D&E LLC. The request is final plat approval of a Walnut Hill replat 10, a subdivision inside city limits. The location is 1116 and 1120 North 40th Street. Eric?
Yeah, so this final plat is in compliance with the previously approved preliminary plat, which was recommended for approval on August 6th by the Planning Board and approved by City Council on October 7th of this year. It creates 5 lots for single-family detached infill units, as well as 1 outlot for private access way and stormwater detention. Staff recommends approval of the final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to the City Council for final action.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Next item on the administrative portion of the meeting is item 2, KC 10-25-190, C 12-25-191. The applicant is MDC Ida Grove LLC. The request is final plat approval of Ida Grove, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to R4. Location is southwest of 186th and Ida Streets.
Yeah, so this final plat is consistent with the approved preliminary plat, which was also approved by City Council on October 28th. The entire development will be in 1 phase, which creates 183 single-family lots and 7 outlots. There's still some items that'll be wrapped up and finalized in the subdivision agreement. One of those being continuing to coordinate. We sure do think now is the appropriate time if you're able to bring on board the adjacent driveway, the long driveway, because there will be 3 street crossings, and it'd be really great to get that cleaned up at this time. So we strongly encourage that coordination, which has been indicated that's ongoing. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from AG to R4 and approval of the final plat, subject to providing corrected right-of-way dedication labels on the final plat and submittal of an acceptable subdivision agreement prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion for the approval of rezoning from AG to R4.
Approval of the final plat, subject to providing corrected right-of-way dedication labels on the final plat, Mylars, and submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to the City Council.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Next is item 3, KC 10-25-237, C 12-25-214. The applicant is McGill Industrial Park, LLC. The request is final plat approval of McGill Industrial Park Replat 2, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from GI to GI and HI. The location is north of 111th Street and Rainwood Road. Eric?
Yeah, this final plat creates 2 lots, both with industrial zoning, one of those being GI and one being HI, which is our most intensive zoning designation. For that reason, we have a condition of, as part of the rezoning, to continue to coordinate with city staff on an acceptable final land use restriction for that HI lot, which we have talked about in previous public hearings. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from GI to GI and HI, subject to coordinating with city staff on acceptable land use restriction or covenant prior to forwarding to City Council, and approval of the final plat subject to final subdivision agreement prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the rezoning from GI to GI and HI, subject to coordinating with city staff on an acceptable land use restriction or covenant, which will be recorded against the properties concurrently with the final plat prior to forwarding the request to City Council, and approval of the final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to City Council.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. And next is item 4, case C10, 25215, C12, 25216. Applicant is Indian Creek East LLC. Request is final plat approval of Indian Creek Village, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to R4. The location is southeast of 192nd and Fort Streets. Eric.
Yeah, so this final plat will be one phase for the development, which involves 63 residential lots and 5 outlots. It is consistent with the approved preliminary plat. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from AG to R4. Approval of the final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? Anybody?
Motion to approve the rezoning from AG to R4. Approval of final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to council.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Okay, got a shy board today. All right, that completes our administrative part of the agenda. We'll now move into the public hearing part of the agenda, the regular agenda items that are left on. The first one is item 6, KC 325309. The applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. The request is approval of the Moriah Intergenerational Center TIF redevelopment project plan. The location is 2601 North 24th Street. Don?
Yeah, good afternoon, Don Seaton, Omaha City Planning. The Moriah Intergenerational Center TIF project located on North 24th Street in North Omaha. The site presently contains a small worn-out building. That'll be removed and a new 3-story community center, essentially, will be constructed, a multi-generational center. There'll be 2 commercial bays on the first floor. One is intended to be a restaurant. There'll also be an event or public assembly space and second floor classrooms. And then there'll be 5 to 7 office spaces on the third floor. Project's located in an extremely blighted area, so it'll be a 20-year TIF term. The developer is Moriah Intergenerational Center, Inc., managed by Reverend Franklin Lassiter. Total investment in the neighborhood is about $6.5 million. The TIF support for the project is $1,182,400. They also have a grant of about $3.5 million from the State Department of Economic Development. The project will be a nice addition to North Omaha and North 24th Street. It's recommended for approval from the TIF committee, complies with our goals of our city's master plan. We ask for your support.
Okay, thank you, Don. Okay, are there any proponents that wish to speak on this?
I'll let you go first.
Ralph Lassiter, 2409 North 161st Street. I'm the president of Moriah Generational Center Incorporated, and we've been working on this project for the last couple of years. Do appreciate the TIF committee's work in supporting our application and look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Nice project.
Yeah, I'll just comment, Ralph, that, it's very creative design with all those different uses in there. It's pretty neat to look at that building and see how it's put together, so. And it's good, and it looks good, too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other proponents?
Lucas Thode, 3727 North 108th Street. Amen to what Ralph and Frank and company are putting together. I wish Godspeed and all blessings on it. In that, I think it will be a very valuable community amenity on North 24 for, I hope, generations to come. Maybe I'll be looking at when I'm old and bald like Mr. Pate and going,
No, I'm bald.
Wow.
How do you know I'm old?
And going, wow, this really did turn out well. That would be cool.
For the record, I am old.
Way to go, Lucas.
I don't know if I'll call you up anymore, Lucas. All right, thank you. Are there any other proponents that wish to speak? Okay, any opponents? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Eric, do you have anything?
Yeah, obviously, a lot's been happening around this corridor in this area, so we're excited for this project to move forward, and staff recommends approval.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Great, thank you. Good luck, Will. All right, next is item 7, KC 325310. Applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. The request is approval of the Workforce Housing 4 TIF redevelopment project plan. The location is northwest of Miami and North 33rd Streets. Don.
Yeah, good afternoon, Don Seaton, City Planning. This is a residential infill redevelopment project involving 8 vacant lots in North Omaha. The lots will be replatted to create 10 development sites. Each would be a single-family home with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and around 1,600 square feet. These will be for sale units. The asking price is $245,000 for each of these units. It is in an extremely blighted area, so it's a 20-year TIF term. The developer is Holy Name Housing Corporation. We've seen some of their previous projects and works recently. Investment in the neighborhood is about $2.7 million. TIF support for the project is $406,000. The residential infill and affordable housing are nice to see, and we ask for your support.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, are there any proponents that wish to speak?
Laisha Goodwin, Holy Name Housing, 4324 Fort Street. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Laisha.
Laisha, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents? Are there any opponents? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Eric.
Yeah, and if either Laisha or Mr. Kavanaugh, if you could step up. I'm just curious, how many units are currently under production or planned entitlement that Holy Name has been, has in the works right now? It seems like there's been a lot of projects coming forward, which is great. And, anytime there's affordable units, and especially for sale product, that's great. So I was just curious if you knew that answer.
Certainly. So this is our 4th round of workforce housing through the state's Workforce Housing Fund program. And so I think Matt can speak to the actual quantity, but it has been a successful pipeline. So this is just 10 more of those units that are coming online.
Matthew Kavanaugh, Holy Name Housing, 4324 Fort Street. We are finishing round 3 right now. It gets a little complicated as we recycle the funds, but so we're finishing up 13 houses right now, and as well as 4 additional rentals with city home funds, and then 2 more in the Miller Park neighborhood. And then so we have these 10, which will start in the new year, with another 2 in another program that's outside of this TIF. So we're rolling, and we're trying to get some more rental units going. But
What do you think that the current need is right now out there for additional housing like this?
Well, it's a good question. These units are interesting because these new construction, $245,000 is, and we're pretty proud of how efficient and cost effective they are. But these still they take a while to move. So demand at that market level is still tough. People having the cash on hand to hit closing costs and having the income, debt, credit to get the underwriting is still a challenge. So from that perspective, the need, I feel like we're trying not to flood that market in terms of need. But when you take a step back and you say, what is the need and desire in the community for affordable home ownership? Bottomless, I don't know what the number is.
There used to be an organization out there. This is years. I'm going back years ago. I'm bringing my banking hat back on here now. That provided incentives for 100% financing. Their down payments weren't required on projects like this. Do you know if there's anything like that still in existence?
The incentives for financing?
Yeah, just find, so they don't have to come up with a down payment, downstroke, or, and they don't have to come up with the cash.
Yeah, there's certainly lots and lots of different tools out there, and every time you do one of these deals, we're trying to figure out how to layer that. We've sold a number of these to Habitat home buyers, so that's kind of layering on their financing and lending into our units, utilizing TIF along with workforce housing is another layer. There's the state program has a lot of down payment assistance programs. The National Housing or the Federal Home Loan Bank has a pretty large grant program for down payment assistance. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different tools out there, and some of them negate each other. You can't use them together. Right. Things like that are challenges, and yeah. So we'd love to see more down payment assistance, but we're really trying with this program. We're trying to introduce a product that is a bit closer to really a market rate. Our main goal is to someday build these homes, not lose any money, make it so attractive that somebody else besides us comes in and builds these homes. Because there's, back to your first question, there's huge demand. I think there's a huge unmet need in the market in these neighborhoods for high quality owner occupied homes. It's just we're working against a lot of sort of historical challenges, things like appraisal gaps is an issue, the appraisal challenge, and lending credit affordability on the construction side and on the mortgage side, mortgage rates. So trying to slowly push against all those things so that eventually there's a market solution to this.
Yeah, sure there is. You guys are doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yep, thanks. No, obviously, there's a great need for affordable housing through all portions of our city. So anytime we have those, we're excited from a city perspective. So staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah.
Stereo.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, and a third. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Okay, next is item 8, and we're going to combine 8 with number 18, which was pulled off the consent agenda. On number 8, it's case number C-325-311. Applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. The request is approval of the Saddle Creek Plaza TIF redevelopment project plan. The location is northeast of California and 46th Street. And case number 18 is case C-10-25-300. The applicant is Woodsonia Saddle Creek LLC. It was on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from GI to CC along with expansion of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District for a portion of the site. The location is 46th and California Streets. So we'll start with number 8, Don.
Okay. Don Seaton, City Planning Department. The Saddle Creek Marketplace TIF project involves 3 parcels along the west side of Saddle Creek, just south of Cumming. This is a large, ambitious, mixed-use project involving 5 buildings to be developed over 5 phases. And this map shows you the phasing plan. This is the existing big box retail building that holds family fare. And that'd be the second phase. We'll go kind of clockwise around the site here. First phase will be a new 138-unit market rate apartment building, be a structure of 4 floors with 108 parking stalls inside the building. Second phase is a rehab, thorough reconstruction of the 60,800 square foot retail building that exists on the site. The applicants, as I understand it, are looking for a grocery store tenant, but it may end up being, there's no guarantees, maybe end up being divided into 3 bays, up to 3 bays for 3 tenants. Third phase is a site that's occupied by an existing, an existing strip mall. It'd be demolished and a new apartment building constructed, be about 85 market rate units. Phase 4 is a small building at the north, north central, be a new one-story commercial building, about 2,000 square feet, intended for a single tenant. And the last phase involves an existing strip mall commercial building located along Saddle Creek. That would be raised, and a new one-story commercial building of about 5,500 square feet would be constructed. I have some renderings. That's a rendering of the existing big box retail building, and then one of the 138 unit first phase apartment building. Applicants are also looking for EEA assistance. It's an enhanced employment area assistance. The applicants are Woodsonia Inc., managed by Mitch Holen. This total project has or represents an investment of about $104 million in the neighborhood. TIF support being requested, $9,005,590. This project meets the requirements of the city's master plan. It's been approved by the TIF committee, and we ask for your support.
Don, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to ask you to give us for the audience information, give us a definition of TIF and how TIF works.
Okay.
If you would, please.
Yeah. Okay. That's always a bit of a challenge, but people think that TIF is a fund or a bucket of money the city has that we give to developers. No, there's no city funds that go into this project. The TIF dollars that go into this project, excuse me, are new tax dollars. They're generated by the project itself. They're paid by the developer on the new value the project creates, and then those are rebated to the developer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Great. Are there any proponents that wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair, board members. Bob Griffith, 11440 West Center Road, here on behalf of the applicant, Woodsonia Saddle Creek LLC. The applicant, Mitch Holland, the developer, and then the project engineer is with me as well, and they're going to speak further on the details of the project and also address some concerns. I know there's some neighbors here. We had a neighborhood meeting, and so we want to make sure we're sympathetic to them and address those concerns. But I did want to take a little time first to kind of give a 1,000-foot view look at kind of this project and where we're at now in context of master plan, kind of what the city is hoping to see as far as future land use, because I think that's important to kind of frame our discussion. So as we are currently, this is the site. As you can see, it's outlined here in the black, California Street in the south, bordered by Saddle Creek and 46th Street. And this is the current zoning. And as you can see, kind of an island here is general industrial. And that's the zone that it currently is. So what we feel, and I think the city would agree, is that this is a bit of an antiquated zoning that has resulted in a lack of development in an area of the city that we think is very important and should have seen a lot more development at this time. Within the Code of Ordinances itself, general industrial is defined as something that should not be, should have a buffer between residential uses. As you can see, it's right up against some medium to lighter residential on the west side there, and then some community commercial around it. So it doesn't necessarily fit with what we have right now. So why is that important? I think the next step we look at then is what the city has in their master plan. Part of that, as you know, is the future land use element. This is a section of that which, again, shows our site, and then the surrounding area, that orange, has been laid out by the city as what they like to see as transit-oriented development. Just for the room, I know you're aware, but transit-oriented development is something that is development that's supposed to be centered around and tailored to locate areas within walking distance for pedestrians, areas of importance to the city. It should have a mix of uses, increased density. It's supposed to be emphasizing walkability of wider sidewalks, better facades, more access directly from storefront to the street, and less interaction between cars and people, that sort of thing. Certainly not something that exists today, not something that's part of general industrial. Why this matters is because now, and Eric can correct me if I'm wrong, but if Mitch wanted to, we could currently pull a permit to use any kind of general industrial use currently allowed without any kind of special approval and go right ahead and do that. I mean, and that includes anything from construction yards, manufacturing, automobile storage, sales, certainly things that we don't want to do will not fit in this area. The residents certainly don't want to see that, neither does the city. But the point being is that where we are right now is not where we should be. And I think the point of it is this project gets us to a place where it's a higher, better use for this site. I think it's something we're really excited about. I think in the long term, the neighborhood will also benefit greatly from it. At the end of the day, as developers, we use the future land use map as our true north. We look at the map, we see here's a spot that needs development, and here's what the city would like to see it look like. And that's what this project is. We understand that change is hard. It's never easy. Everyone has their own opinions. We want to make sure we're cognizant of that. But at the end of the day, we think this is the best and highest use for the site, complies with the master plan, and ultimately that is what we're reviewing today. So I wanted just to start the discussion with that, and I know there's a lot of details that we'll talk about, but I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Did you say you had a neighborhood meeting?
We did.
Okay.
When did you have it?
Excuse me?
When did you have it?
No, exactly.
Monday last week.
TIF committee of this, we were approved at TIF committee of November. So.
Okay. Was it well attended?
Yes.
I'll let Mitch hop up and just answer directly.
Any other proponents then? Mitch, you're going to talk?
Mitch Holen, 21160 C Street, Elkhorn, Nebraska 68022. To answer your question, yes, it was well attended. I would guess there was, kind of looking over here, probably 75 to 100 folks that came out to that. So obviously a lot of interest in the project. But yeah, I would say we're eager to dive in. This is a project that we've been working on for probably the last 18 months. We were approached by. We're working on two of the properties around this. Before I go anywhere, Don, can I plug this in anywhere?
Yes.
You might have to show me where someone will.
Have a little more technical expertise than I do.
There we go. So we actually started, if it's okay, I'll give you a little bit of history on the site and kind of how we got here. So we started working on this site a little over 18 months ago, and our interest was piqued through a project that we're doing at 39th and Dodge that we actually wrapped up about a year ago. I never got to go there, but the Travel Inn Lodge was our previous site that we have successfully redeveloped. So that was at 39th and Dodge. We were able to assemble that. It was a private-public partnership with Omaha, and have since constructed about 138 units there. The project's gone really well. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in that project too. It was located in the Joslin Neighborhood Association, but is a project that has gone well. Our focus here, though, is we're working on these two strip centers. If you can kind of see these on the east and west side of the site, and we were looking at these. Both of them are very tired. Both of them have kind of transient tenants. There's a couple of vape shops in here. Really, we saw this as an opportunity to reinvest in this area. But as we were working on these, we came across an old declaration that was recorded against all these properties in the early 1990s when this was developed. And it was basically an agreement that said you cannot redevelop any of the site without the consent of the majority of the property owners in this. That's when we started having discussions with the Family Fair ownership group. Initially, that really didn't go anywhere. They had a long-term tenant in there. It's an out-of-state ownership group. It's a triple net lease. They really had no active involvement in the asset. But they were approached about 6 months ago from their tenant, letting them know that they are not going to be staying at this location long-term. That's when they approached us. So our involvement, I do want to make it clear we are not kicking Family Fair out. We'd love to have them as a tenant. We are going to do multifamily down here no matter what. We'd like to have a key grocery component. That's a great amenity to have for your tenants here. But More so our focus kind of shifted into, okay, well, we don't want to see a vacant box. We don't want to see self-storage here. If we are going to do these two strip centers, we want to make sure that we've got a complementary use in this box. So that's where this really evolved into a much larger project. So since then, you're seeing what you're seeing today, where we looked at this of, okay, there's about 2.5 acres. It's actually a lot of ground behind Family Fare that currently sits right here, positioned on 40th or 46th Street and in California. So we looked at that, and this is actually a really similar building to the one that we did at 39th and Dodge, where there's about 25 feet of grade change between 46th Street and then the entrance off of California. So what we're going to do there, what we're proposing to do, and you can kind of see that area a little better on this aerial, is do 2 levels of structured parking. Those will both be entirely underground. So today, Family Fare gets all of their receiving off of California Street. Joe's here with TD2. We're not entirely sure how they actually back into that today. They don't meet any of their turning radius requirements. I'm not sure. But we're going to cut off that access and instead change it into an underground garage access point. So that'd be level 1. Level 2 will then get entered off of 46th Street. And then on top of that, we would have 4 levels of multifamily with 2 courtyards here that would kind of be positioned off of California. I think this would be really inviting and a pretty neat kind of bookend to the south part of the site, and also really buffer the backside of this. No matter what, this is going to be retail. It's not a great, looking at the back of a retail building is just not great no matter what. So we do want to kind of buffer that. As we move forward.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that the retail tenant's going to have access from that garage as well?
No.
Or you're saying it's cut off, it's only for the
Exactly.
residential
It's just into that garage for those residents. On the 68,000 or 60,000 square foot box, let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. There you go.
And Mitch, I did hear one person say they were having a hard time hearing, so maybe if you pull the, there you go. Sorry, I know you're doing your best.
I'll speak up a little bit. So I almost froze back there, so I'm still a little jittery. But so the 60,000 square foot box today, this is actually about 70,000 square feet. What we're going to do is lop off the front half of this building. Kind of the key issues that we're running into today is the roof is shot, the mechanical system's shot. For all intents, we should probably demolish this building. But what we want to do is do an entire reskin. So we're going to keep the foundation, we're going to keep the structural walls, everything else will be entirely new. But as part of that, we're gonna knock off the front, call it 5,000 square feet. So we'll square that off, where today Family Fare actually has a bunch of offices kind of in that front, but we want to make it more complimentary and inviting to probably 2 or 3 tenants. That's most likely what we're going to see here. And then we're going to relocate the docks to, this would be the east side of the building. So these would now go into conformity with all turning radius requirements, where you could get a WB67, that's a full-size semi-truck on these docks. So the docks would come off the back, and then they'd move over to the east. So that would be, I'm going to call that kind of phase 1 and phase 2. These are likely to go together, but we did break them into separate project areas. Phase 3, 4, and 5 is more positioned on the north end of the site. So today, if you go up there, it's kind of the other issue with the site is the parking lot. I mean, you can see it on this aerial. It's just not well maintained. So we would like to tear out the entire parking lot. We would put in landscaped islands. Today there are no green space. There is no landscaped islands in here. So we would add that as part of our project. And then we would do a complete tear out, mill, overlay, new parking lot, new lighting, which I think is kind of critical to this area. But in addition to that, we would add some retail out here. I mean, today this is just a oversized parking lot in our opinion. So we'd add a retail building there. And then we would plan to either tear down the existing building that's on Saddle Creek or do a new reface as well, which is very much needed on this building. What's kind of our furthest phase out would be this phase 5 building, which is the strip center on the western portion of the site. So if this lets me, we would likely see this as another 4-story building where we would have structured parking on the main level and then 4 units on top of that, which would then enter off of 46th Street. So if you go there today, you can actually see there's some great units that have been built within the last, I don't know how soon these were, probably 5 to 10 years that would kind of face each other. So this would be complementary to what we see on the other side of 46th Street. And then again, our big initiative too is we want the folks that are both in the Dundee area and then the residents that are going to live here to make this accessible. Today it's not. If you want to get down in here, you got to walk all the way down, either go around Family Fair or you got to go on to Saddle Creek. So we're going to add connectivity right in this area here, which you can see on the site plan. So I think this is a great way to kind of activate the neighborhood and bring that into the development as well.
Mitch, can you go back to phase 3 there?
Yeah.
Did you say that's going to be a combination of retail and housing?
When you say phase 3, are you talking about this?
Phase 5, I think you mean.
Phase 5 here?
The one top left there.
This guy?
Yeah.
So yes, I think we're unsure of whether that'll end up being main level retail or units on the lower level. It's kind of our furthest phase out. That could be a mixed use building, but I think that'll largely depend on the success that we have on this 60,000 square foot. And it could end up being a combination of both, Pat. But a couple general elevations. Again, these are largely schematic at this point, but this would be the view of the existing Family Fair box. So again, it would have an entirely new facade installed. You can see the post office down here, which we tried to pick up as part of our acquisition. We didn't have much luck on that. And we tried to get Ryan Haas to condemn them and just wasn't willing to play. This is another view of the existing box. Again, we would really knock off the front half of that building, square it off so everybody has visibility. And then you can see some of the landscaping that we would propose to put in.
So those are, sorry.
Yeah.
Each of those tenant spaces, if you have 3, what is the size of each of those? Is that 20,000 square feet each?
Pretty close to. It would be between like 18,000, maybe down to 10,000, but right in that range. There's another view. And then here's a view off of Saddle Creek. So the key pieces, as Don mentioned, this is an aspirational project. All in, we would expect it to be north of $100 million. We do think that we've completed a number of projects of this size. Hopefully we do have some good credibility in the Omaha Metro. But we're excited about it. It's one that we've been working on for a while, and I think this is a great reinvestment for this area.
Can you help me understand maybe the math here a little bit?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the sources and uses of funds.
Sure.
And total project looks like it's about $103.5 million, right? And if applicant estimates the total probable final valuation of $49 million.
Yes.
It's quite a difference between what's going to cost you and what you think the final valuation is.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon to have your assessed value be anywhere near your
Yeah, but it's
construction cost.
usually not that wide of a.
I would say on the project we've completed in Omaha, it has been.
Have they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, and this is our thing, Don, I think vetted our, keep pointing at you, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I think Don did vet our assessed values for these various buildings in here, both from a per unit perspective on the residential side to a commercial, on the retail side. And I think these are defendable. If they're more, that's great. The TIF will pay off earlier. But we also want to be realistic on what valuations we're assuming.
And you use different cap rates for the different
Correct.
projects, right?
Multifamily has its own, the retail has its own, and then the retail commercial has its own.
Yeah. And what's your timeline on the phase in?
So we would hope to start construction. This is actually a good map to look at here. Let me zoom in on this. This is kind of our summary sheet. We would hope to start site work on phase 1, Q2 next year. That would really be our goal. And then phase 2, we would like to have that kind of rolling with a new tenant open Q1 2027, which would require us to start doing site work Q2 2026.
Did you already acquire the property?
We have, yep.
Okay. And family, we got some comments about grocery store going away. Is it your understanding that they were going to go away no matter what anyway, or
Yes.
are you forcing them out?
We're not forcing them out.
Okay.
No.
So
So
they were going to.
they're going to bail. Yeah, and I think you can look at other locations that their parent company has in Omaha. They have closed 3 other locations within the last 3 years. This is an underperforming store for them. Again, I would hope to have them maybe in a downsized footprint as part of the project. We would really like to have a grocery component as part of this. Now, whether it's Family Fair or some other user, our more our primary initiative would be to have a grocery component, but we also can't force it.
I think there's a Walmart Fresh or something around there. So
There's a neighborhood market, I mean,
Is that a
300 feet
full-service
south of
grocery
this.
store, or what? I'm not familiar with the Walmart neighborhood.
Yeah, it's full grocery. Yep. So, and I can't speak to whether that affects this Family Fair's, performance or not. That's a much lure location, but from what we know, this is not a good location for them.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
questions about the laundry, that remains, right?
That is not part of our acquisition. Yep. So that's actually the laundromat right up here. That is not part of our acquisition of this project. They will stay in place.
Okay. Thank you, Mitch.
Okay. Thank you.
Might call you back up here in a bit. Okay.
That was your only chance. I'm done.
Are there any other proponents who wish to speak on this? Lucas, I don't know, man.
Lucas Stone, 3727 North 108th Street. First, big proponent of the rezone. That's necessary, and that's just cleanup necessary in any case. Although on the redevelopment, I'm a proponent of the overall idea. Definitely that box is worn out. That's that grocery store. Used to be an Albertsons, I think, at one point in time before Family Fair got spots on it. As far as new grocery tenants, if you haven't asked them, maybe Lidl might take a look. LIDL, the other big German grocery chain other than Aldi. Just a thought. The other thing, speaking of commercial tenants, there are a couple longer. Some of the tenants in the existing strip malls are, as the applicant described, very transient tenants. But there are a couple long-term ones mixed in as well. I was wondering if there are plans to accommodate those in the redevelopment process, if that's already been figured on and discussed and figured out, or if that's something that hasn't really been talked about yet.
Thank you, Lucas. Hold on. Are there any other proponents that wish to speak? I'll bring you back up in a second, okay, Mitch? So, are there any opponents?
Are we still talking about zoning?
They're
Combining
both
them together.
Yep.
Public hearing. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Come on up. Yep.
And sir, if you want to talk, you can come down and just wait for the next person.
Jessica McCallie, 5033 Seward Street. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and also as an official capacity for a local neighborhood association representing 537 households. We did hold a meeting that Mitch mentioned. Woodsonia did not call this meeting. They did agree to attend. He said they've been working on this for 18 months, which I find pretty alarming because we found out about this from Dawn as part of a registered neighborhood association, maybe 1 to 2 days before the application was approved, which was, I believe, exactly 2 weeks ago. We had a holiday week in between. So we scrambled to call a meeting to inform our neighbors and residents and friends and business owners to simply learn what's going on. And there's many discrepancies between what Mitch kind of presented at the meeting, and then what we found in the application. The neighbors they didn't have access to the application at the meeting. We collected emails to send out to let everyone know. We're not inherently against this project or development. We're very concerned without being informed of what's going on. So a few discrepancies is these are not transient tenants. I went and talked to all of them door to door. I had been told they were made aware of this project. Not a single one had. So I was informing Mitch's tenants about what's going on. I see one of them here today. They've been there for 30 years. Another store's been there for 20 years. Another store's been there for 10 years. We're talking about a small little grocer, 2 restaurants. I didn't know the laundromat was part of it. I wasn't able to speak to them. No one's on site. Specialty beauty supply. These businesses have been thriving there for a long time and would probably take offense to be called transient. And there is one vape shop, but that's it. not a few. I also have a question for the developer about this talk of a grocery store. If you've received any correspondence from the neighborhood, that's a huge concern. There is a small Walmart marketplace further down the street. For a lot of people on foot, it's a big walk. And the family fairs, I possibly was leaving anyway, so we're not putting that on Woodsonia. But I would wonder who they have spoken to, if this is important to them, and they're listening to neighborhood concerns. We are also concerned with the look and feel of the neighborhood, of the project. If you look on page 14 of the application, there's a few items of note. One is that that it would maintain the historical character and charm of the neighborhood. And you just saw some of the renderings. I know they're schematic and look kind of like bad AI, but I don't see how that fits into Dundee at all. This was a major concern for our neighbors. Not just that it is ugly, but it doesn't feel like anywhere where we're used to calling home. And the other big discrepancy was in the meeting, Mitch mentioned none of this housing would be affordable. He said, this is not affordable. It's all market rate, but also on page 14, question 3, it mentions specifically targeting low-income residents with affordable housing. So that's another question we have. I do agree with Mitch that this is not affordable. We see listed in there the proposed rent of 509 square feet, starting at $1,200, presumably does not include parking or utilities, up to almost $3,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment in a place that's possibly losing a lot of local businesses. I'm also concerned about building an underground parking garage on Saddle Creek, if anyone here is familiar with the neighborhood. Mitch is not familiar with the neighborhood. He is from Hastings and lives in Elkhorn, or at least centers his business in Elkhorn, according to his application. So Mitch, you should be aware that Saddle Creek is very prone to flooding. We have no green space there. That's a major concern also for the neighbors. Look, we are open to development here. Mitch already owns the property. Woodsonia already owns the property. They can do however they want to with it. If they're requesting TIF, I think we must be a part of this process. So officially, we are requesting minimum a layover. We feel really blindsided by this. If this is a 20-year term and we're looking at 2 weeks from application approval to hear at the city planning board, that's way too fast of a timeline. We need more time to let the neighborhood take a look at this. We need more time for the tenants to make plans if they're losing their buildings. Mitch kind of also danced around that. At that, he said, well, maybe we're just reskinning. If you look in the application, I mean, especially back where China Palace is, that's complete demolition. And it sounds like that might happen to some of the other businesses too. So what we're saying is we don't have the answers and we need answers. So official request to layover, and barring that, then I say request to deny. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, any other opponents? Please come forward. Okay.
Thank you, Miss. Larry Storr, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha 68132. I don't live in the immediate area, but I'm close to it, and we shop down there a lot. But first of all, I'd like to commend this body for being more citizen-friendly and open, almost enjoyable compared to the city council.
We'll pass that on to them.
It's refreshing. Other than that, I just want to say I've been hammering away at TIF for a long time. And I'm not very well liked at the city council because of it. And I want to tell you something. It's all because of the lack of transparency. We don't know much about TIF. We don't know how it happens because they don't talk about it. And they will not let the citizen talk to you like you guys are talking to us today. Now that's got to change because these people were never informed of any of this. I went to their neighborhood meeting and I shut my mouth up because I said, I do have a business degree and I did some sales work. I did some clerk work, some mail work, and some convenience store work, so I've got a wide range. And I understand some things, but I do not understand how you can do TIF the way they do it without involving the citizens up front. Now, I didn't own a business, but I would not in my right mind ever spend 18 months and all the money that went into this presentation that they put together on paper. I can't imagine paying the staff to do that and the 18 months of a dedication to that project, excuse me, without having some indication that the city of Omaha would let me slide through with it, give or take, whether they like it or not. Why would I do that as a businessman? Would you? I don't think so. So the transparency here is that they weren't honest with us at the city, brief city meeting before. I think they talked to somebody on the planning board or somebody knew what they were doing before they called the so-called neighborhood meeting. And then they denied that they had anything before the planning board. I don't think they were being honest. They had to at least have some indication of favorable treatment. If it wasn't you, was it Pete Festerson? That's his district, I think. But see, I can see what the city is doing all the way from Dodge Street up to Hamilton Street and beyond, and Dundee District and Walnut Hill District. It's all blighted, and they're very blighted close to me now in my neighborhood. And they're also multi-density living quarters, and all of the parking problems because of it. Density is ruining the city. Now, how do you blight an area? Well, you go in with your city permits and you force people out because they can't afford to, oh, we have that new electrical code and you have to spend this money. I'm sorry, I'm going to sell my house because I can't afford to do that. Somebody else is going, I'm not going to buy it because I can't afford it. We had the electrical professionals telling us that it's costing and raising the price of what you all say is affordable housing.
Larry, can I ask you to stay focused on this?
It is not. Well, yeah, thank you. That is a good point. Thank you. But it's not affordable housing. But this project is driving people out. And what the neighborhood association, people that actually live closer in the area, put together in a piece of paper, has a lot of facts to it that are never answered by the city council. Maybe you folks will answer some of that today. I hope so, because you do seem a lot more friendly toward the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Okay. Any other opponents for speak? Oh, you. Why don't you come up front here?
Yeah, just sit right down here, then they'll be ready for it.
8 years of attending public hearings with Larry, and I'm not sure we've ever been on the same side. It's a fun Wednesday. My name's Erin Feichtinger, 2719 North 49th Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska, 68104. Here is someone who has lived in the neighborhood for many years, who's relied on the family fare as an accessible and affordable grocery store, quick place to run when you had a newborn at home during COVID, all of that kind of thing. I've enjoyed meals at both China Palace and at the taco truck in the parking lot of the family fare. And as noted, there is only actually one vape shop, not many in that area, just so we know. This neighborhood has been, or this area has been described as the tired shopping center in need of significant reinvestment and revitalization. I'm not sure we would all disagree with that. Does this application check all the boxes in terms of a TIF application, in terms of adherence to the community development law? Sure. Says all the right things in much the same way that every TIF application says, with a lot of the same words. I would just remind everyone that getting the term extremely blighted applied to this area does in fact rely in part on the lived experience and economic realities of the people who live in the neighborhood. And that's who's been left out of this process so far. I won't reiterate what Jess said. That was all very well said. But I do understand how TIF works. I'm not upset about that. My frustration is what this project leaves out, which is a thoughtful consideration of what our neighborhood actually needs and wants, who lives here now, not just those who we would love to welcome into our neighborhood in the future. The application talks of those who wish to live and work in the area. That's me and my family. It talks of residents who will invest their energy and capital here. Again, that's me and my family. We've been out here doing it already. And that this project is to provide, quote, affordable residential units in a neighborhood where, if you talk to anybody in the neighborhood, most are worried about affording the housing that they have now. And who probably wouldn't think $1,200 a month studios and $2,900 a month 2 bedrooms are a viable, exciting new option for them. I have no opposition to urban density or walkable neighborhoods. That's where Larry and I differ, amongst many other things. Sorry, Larry. I fully support those ideals. I am opposed to a developer deciding what is the highest and best use of this area in our neighborhood without sincere engagement with the community, which in my experience over many years of living here has been a community that chooses to be here, that celebrates our neighborhood's diversity and its vitality, who has invested significant capital and energy into our neighborhood, and would have very good ideas about how to make this a successful project for everyone involved. I would echo my neighbor's request to slow down this project to allow for those conversations and ensure that all of our neighbors have a voice in our own future. I know community engagement is not explicitly required in this process, but I also know that a project this substantial community engagement is very strongly suggested, as Mr. Pape mentioned in an earlier project. Since you are the first public entity that we get to talk to about this, I would ask that you exercise that responsibility, take that responsibility very seriously, and really slow this project down and lay it over for a bit. And I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
I've got one for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned ideas.
Yeah.
What ideas do you have?
You know, I love the grocery store. I think I have walked to that grocery store from my house. We need something there. The Walmart, as mentioned, is very far away. There's another Walmart on 50th and Ames. If you want to get any further afield or any closer, right, we're talking Aldi on 72nd, Hy-Vee on Cass. There really is not a grocery store option in that neighborhood. Family Fare is great. It does not shock me that it is underperforming, given how frequently I am there. But that said,
I don't mean to interrupt. I want to understand, what is that Walmart neighborhood market? And I apologize, I've never been there, but so I heard it was a grocery store. Now I'm hearing it's not.
No, it is a grocery store. It's just further away. It's closer to Dodge.
Isn't it next door?
No.
I thought the parcels are next to each other.
No, they are not next to each other.
It's car.
I trust this guy with my life. I love this guy's recommendations. I say take them. But no, I mean, it is a significant walk. It's also, as noted, right, we're talking about walkable neighborhoods here. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody try to walk along Saddle Creek, but there's no break between the sidewalk and Saddle Creek, yeah. Right? And everybody drives completely rationally on that street too. So it's very safe. So we're not just talking about distance, right? We're talking about the safety of people trying to cross streets. It's not a safe place.
But it is a grocery store.
It is a grocery store if you choose to shop at Walmart. Yeah, other ideas. I love China Palace. I also think, again, I'm not sure that I have specific ideas about what I want to see there except for a grocery store. I also don't like the visual of that huge, vast expanse of parking lot. Right as you're, as you're trying to, or as you're coming up on Saddle Creek. If we're going to talk about urban density and building up the urban core, there's a lot of other great design ideas. Look at what they're doing with the library on 72nd and Dodge, where that's right up, instead of having the parking lot being the first thing you see. But all I know is that, again, and I've been through this process, I've watched this process unfold many times, right? I'm not naive to think that this is going to slow down this project in any way, shape, or form. I do think that this is an opportunity for us to take a serious look at the way that we do this and think about how we engage the neighborhood in what is the highest and best use of this area. And that has simply not happened.
And just any business is going to look at the demographics of the area, and you know, they're in business to make money, right?
Yeah,
And the family
no.
fair is probably struggling a little bit there. And
Sure.
any other grocery store is going to look at the same demographic information and probably come to the same conclusion, I would guess.
And the
Particularly if you
city
got a
has done
Walmart-
stuff.
If you got a Walmart, you know, not too far,
Sure.
you know, they're
And I know that there are many examples in this city of the city doing things to help bring in grocery stores. Again, I understand that Family Fair is going to leave no matter what. I understand that the developer cannot make a promise about bringing in a grocery store person. But again, this is all stuff that could have been hashed out, that could have been brainstormed together, had people been notified of this instead of this being handed down from on high as the highest and best use of this area. I love your jacket, by the way. You're bringing a
I don't
whole
know if it-
energy to this thing that I love.
I don't know if it can always be hashed out, like, you know, by getting a
Sure.
neighborhood meeting, because I would bet you $100 that they want a grocery store there.
Yeah.
Occupy it, and sometimes what we want is not always what's going to be feasible or achievable, because somebody won't go into that old Family Fair store.
I mean, as the Rolling Stones say, you can't always get what you want.
Exactly.
But if you try sometimes,
You just might find.
you get what you need.
So, but.
And that's why we're here
but,
today.
But also, too, and I know we received so many emails, and I do appreciate everybody coming down today, and you still have a chance to speak. And we read the emails, and I saw what was a lot of the concern is, the food desert that it could create. But they do want to, I mean, they would love to have a grocery store, I'm sure, in there, but they do have to redevelop that area as well to attract maybe that grocery store to come in.
Right? And I don't oppose the zoning change that allows us to do that.
But we are big about having meetings with neighborhoods and the associations. I mean, I've been here 8 years or so, and that's always been something that I've wanted more of, and it can still happen after this. Whether this gets approved or not, and I'm not sure where it's going, but whether it gets approved or not, we still like to see that happening, so that you guys, people could put some of your information into them and say, this is what we'd love to see. I mean,
yeah.
I can't say they're going to say, oh, we'll change the design because the colors or whatever. But having that open street is so vital,
Sure.
to us. So I appreciate your words very, very much.
And you also understand that, and I know you appreciate this, and I also appreciate that you all are a volunteer board, right? You were not elected. This is something that you're doing because you care about the direction of the city and what it's going to look like, and you care about the residents, and we appreciate that. And I know that that can be difficult because, again, you're the first public entity that citizens are engaging with, right, when something like this happens. That said, this is also, because of that fact, this is our opportunity to put things on the record, to make it known that that community engagement didn't happen, that we would appreciate it in the future so that as we move through this process, we have those overlapping layers of accountability, whereas I've sat in numerous city council meetings where they said no one showed up, right? And it sails through. So we appreciate you taking the time for that accountability. Again, appreciate the jacket and the Rolling Stones references.
All right, thanks, Aaron.
I do, sorry, one more question, Aaron. I do just want to understand.
Is it about Walmart?
No.
Okay.
I understand what that is.
Okay.
What was the line of communication between the developer to the neighborhood, and how was that neighborhood meeting put together? What was the timeline of that? I just want to make
I
sure
would
I have
bring
a clear
up
understanding.
Jess again or someone else involved with that. I found out about it from, again, like talking to neighbors in the neighborhood, and then asking to be involved in that conversation as well as someone who utilizes those spaces and who is in the neighborhood as well. So I would pass that on to the experts who did that if you'd like to call them back up instead of me.
Yeah, real quick, because I want this nice gentleman to.
So you want to know
Just
the
what was the
line of
timeline
communication?
Name and address again.
Jess McCallie, 5033 Seward Street.
Who called the meeting? How was it put together? What was the timeline? Communication? How did
Okay,
that
so
all
we
work?
first received, as part of an official neighborhood association, a letter from Dawn, or the email, the alert from Dawn. This was, so 2 weeks ago today was, I believe, the application approval. We learned, I believe, the day or 2 days before that this was happening, and it was just kind of like, hi, this is happening. You're supposed to be officially notified, so you're being notified. After approval, you can request documents of the application. This neighborhood organization, just a few of us who had the information, went to work to spread that as fast as we could on this really tight timeline, especially during the holidays, like I mentioned. So we sent out, I'm a business owner in Dundee, in 68132 and 68104, both brick and mortar. So I'm very invested in my neighborhood. And so we just started letting people know through our also Merchants Association and just word of mouth. It was very grassroots. I'm so impressed with my neighborhood. I love what we did and how fast we did it. I feel very protective of us and our community. So we contacted A.V. Sorensen. We're in desperate need of community centers. That's kind of a good idea for maybe use of the land. I have more ideas, by the way, and neighbors' ideas if you want to hear them, that are a lot more creative and could really revitalize and be exciting and make the developer money also.
Just the communication timeline.
Sure. Good point. So we held the meeting. It was a week ago on Monday, and then we have not heard from Mitch since.
And you organized it.
Yeah, I'm one of the co-organizers. Yep, absolutely. So, yeah. Any other questions?
You invited them to the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. They're not reaching out. Again, the 18 months, it was so hard to hear just now. Mitch gave us Monday or Tuesday to get this done. And so we did get it done on Monday.
Thank you.
And then ever since then, we're trying to get the application and the information out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jennifer.
Chris. Okay. Sir, you're an opponent, I guess, right?
Okay, my name is Jen Zhang. My house address is 605 North 162nd Street, Omaha. Okay, I'm the owner, the tenant for China Palace. I think that I have been their location operated as a Chinese food restaurant about totally with 2 generations, operate about more than 32 years.
On that site?
Exactly. That time is, I think, it's Everson, and we have Hollywood Video, Blockbuster. I think that time the neighborhood looks like. But I'm come here as I'm not, come to say I'm opposed for the plan. I understand that generations change. This area do need some redeveloping, especially the time, my first landlord, I think, is Randy. First management. I think that time he put what he's thinking, he understand to the neighborhood for the property. But right now he's old, he's retired. But when you guys take over, I told my wife right away, I said this location will be a new apartment will be coming up. Because since we have a huge parking lot. But one thing we have admitted, business change a lot, especially on Saddle Creek. You see so many restaurants coming, new Walmart neighborhood coming. Target is gone, right? As before we have Target. Target is gone, but Walmart step in to fill the vacancy. And the neighborhood is changing a lot. I think that this neighborhood, maybe you don't live here, but I don't live there too. But I do business, operate my business every day. So I think this area is most like a small United Nations. You see people all from all kinds of world. Not only Asian, also you see people from Africa, people from European country. It's like a little, international world, you know. Especially I operate a restaurant, Chinese food, lots of people like it, so I see all kinds of people, you know. I have customers from Happy Hollow Dundee's. I also have customers from North Omaha, you know. So I understand people. So one thing I try to explain here, try to express what I'm thinking about the project is, I think maybe it's a good idea for the neighborhood. I don't against it. It's good for the city too, you know. But the thing is, sometimes you have to really understand this neighborhood. If you compare this neighborhood compared to Village Point with Omaha, lots of things totally different. And what kind of business really can survive after this project you put in? If you don't understand this neighborhood, I don't think you really can survive. it's not built by one day, or it's not built up how much money I have in the banking account, how much bullet I can shoot. No, you really have to understand that this neighborhood, understand these people, doesn't matter who they are, then you can be success. And I just talked to my wife. I said, hey, if they're going to do something, there are two things. Of course, I absolutely worry about me, because I still have the lease with the First Management. I'm not too quite worried about that. But my neighbors, the Korean hairdresser, so they are quite very worried about, because the condition for finally their lease, how to say that, whether we call beneficial to the tenant, wherever, they look, excuse me, they tell me, they look as if they feel very risky, because if they get help to have finally the deal is done, they have to move away, they don't get, it's hard for them to establish for their business for their second location or the future. So the future for some tenants, include me, sometimes I'm kind of a little worried. Another thing for how I feel is, I have about 30 years, I put so much thing in this restaurant brand name. It's not easy. You know what I'm talking, running a restaurant. I have so much passion, so much, sacrifice, struggle, whatever, how you call it, hard working in it, with all my heart and soul, So in the sudden, someday I have to say goodbye. It's very hard feeling, So I just talked to my wife, say, hey, maybe they will like us to stay, just maybe because they're talking about the retail space, maybe we still have a chance to reinvestment, to be a fabric of this project, But there's a lot of things we cannot say who is right, who is wrong, nobody can guarantee everything at this moment, right? Economically, job market, I understand UMC is a big compound on Saddle Creek, affect the whole economic, also the traffic too, Another thing is worries me is, since you have, I'm not expert, but from my understanding, since you try to put apartment on that location, but how you thinking about the traffic junction between the Saddle Creek and Cumming Street? It's already a very busy traffic volume already, how people driving, So how it really affects traffic, affects business, also affects the investor, You guys are investor, how you can guarantee your investment is coming back nicely, There's also lots of competition, lots of new apartments building around, But to the bottom line is, I don't against this project or any idea for the future. I just think maybe you should balance a little bit, doesn't matter your design or what's you really, planning. You have maybe just slow down a little bit, can be secure a little more future successful. That's my point. That's all I can say at this moment, all right?
Okay.
And I just get the information last night, I do not say it's a shock. I understand time is coming, It's a big parking lot. Sometimes you look at, as a landlord, I look at it's waste money, Because the income, you look at it, it's not so fair for, But how you going to, embrace that property, embrace the neighborhood, sometimes it's a challenge as well, So that's all I can say at this moment.
I think we've got your message good.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Any other opponents?
I'll let him speak first.
Yes,
I actually
well,
have an idea.
yes. Thank you.
My name is Rob Severino. I live at 4931 Webster Street for about almost 12 years now. I moved to Omaha from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, because my friends brought me to Dundee, and I was just, I thought Nebraska was all tumbleweeds and yellow grass, and I got to Omaha, and I was.
How long have you been here?
February 17th will be 12 years.
Okay.
But, well, there's a few things here. So, part of the attraction to Dundee is like that it is a vibrant and diverse neighborhood. And they're talking about the traffic on Saddle Creek and Cumming and California, and people are, they do kind of crazy trying to turn out against traffic sometimes. And you do see a ton of people who are hoofing it to work, and you're descending down like a good 100 feet from either side of Saddle Creek down into, what used to be the creek bed. And these were people going to work at the neighborhood Walmart, the Ace Hardware, Chipotle, Panera, all these places where these people are probably working, $12 to $20 an hour. Say it's $15 an hour, and they're getting 30 hours a week because these companies don't want to pay to have benefits for these people. So they're making $400 to $500 a week. Say it's $1,800 or $2,000 a month. And already, my rent has gone up 50% in the 11 years I've been renting that apartment. And people already have concerns with how rents have gone up in Dundee. And then you're going to throw in a new place that's going to raise property. I mean, that's part of my landlord's excuse to raise my rent. He says, well, my property taxes have gone up, so I have to raise yours. And then when this thing goes in, what is that going to do to all the property tax valuations around it? It's going to raise them, right? So they're going to increase rents so where these people are paying more than what a regular worker who's walking to work already in Dundee, they're going to have a rent that's beyond their income. When we're listening to what's Kavanaugh and the young gal, holy name. It's funny because it seems like they're doing the Lord's work, making a $245,000 house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a garage. And I understand it's in a different neighborhood, and those property values are different, but then they're calling this extremely blighted. So, why can't they make something that is at least somewhat affordable?
Just so you know, they didn't claim it as extremely, but it's labeled as.
That's how you've labeled it. Okay. Well, either way, a $34,000 some odd per year rent. I think it's going to push a lot of people out of the neighborhood, and I guess I would say homogenize the neighborhood. And it's like, what is the neighborhood going to be? And there's already a lot of people. You've seen, if you go by there like I do every day, Saddle Creek and Cummings, Saddle Creek and Dodge, there's already, unhoused folks. And, how many more are there going to be now? And I guess I just feel like, they're going to pile these property taxes onto the surrounding homeowners in Dundee. And as I aspire to hopefully one day become one. And I just wonder, it feels like we're subsidizing our own eviction from our own neighborhood to let somebody who that's not from there come in and basically take over and build a thing that looks like, if you're out on 156th and Maple at the Hy-Vee, and it's like, that's, I guess maybe Dundee, this is Saddle Creek is a little dingy, but it's also part of what
it's the character,
the vibe of the neighborhood is, and it's like not everything has to be bright and shiny. And I guess it just, to me, feels like, oh, hey, we can do a $20,000 to $35,000 rent because we know that these are going to be these young professionals at UNMC, so it's just like a cash grab for them. And it's going to push out all these people. And I, believe me, I love having that. That's an amazing hospital, and I think it does a lot for the community. But it's also changing the demographics of the community and pushing out a lot of just regular folks who've called it home for a long time. And I will say, I'm also a business owner. have seen how things have slowed down here, especially recently, where, there's a lot of money that's just not in the economy right now. And then people are going through open enrollment and looking at their insurance and they're like, holy shit, I might have to move, I might have to move to a different, neighborhood. And I guess if they can build a home like that, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and make things happen for regular folks, I feel like there should be some effort, especially if they're going to get, delayed financing. I don't really understand that, but can we look at some way of addressing the needs of the people who live in the neighborhood right now, not just the people that they hope to have in the neighborhood in the future?
Great. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
All right. Make one comment. First of all, the housing that they're bringing in isn't displacing anyone. It's housing that's being added to the area, and developers, they aren't going to invest money somewhere where they don't think they can make it work. In this case, $100 million, and they already testified they aren't even getting all of that back, okay? It's all based on what's going to happen in the future. And that's the whole thing with TIF. I think Larry was trying to understand what TIF is. And TIF doesn't cost any of the other landowners around there a dime. TIF is a trade of the future taxes for the property that's being developed to offset some of the cost of the development. So the city's incentive is to have their infrastructure that's already there be better utilized. Everybody's talked about how family fare has fallen down or whatever. And this is a way to make a structure that's not performing well to still be able to be there at a lower cost than it would be to tear it down and start over. And I think that's the basic misunderstanding. This is an investment in your neighborhood. It's not taking anything away from your neighborhood.
What happens to the valuations of the other properties?
That's to be determined.
It's not directly related to that at all.
That's
But
not-
it's just, and that's the problem. I have that problem in my neighborhood. Everybody's problem.
Everybody's property
It's
taxes
not
are going up,
because of a developer. That's our economy.
My
That's our
property
economy.
taxes on my house went up 20% last year.
Yeah.
20%. Okay, so I don't know how many more are going to speak, but I'm going to ask anybody else who's coming up to speak. Thank you, Rob.
And let's try
To make
not-
sure that we get new information.
Yeah,
that,
new
that
information.
that we haven't heard already. Okay, so, sir.
Yes, my name's Josh Nelson. I live at 605 North 48th Street. That's the corner of 48th and California. It's 2 blocks west of the proposed project. I second almost everything that's been said. I want to thank Jess for doing the work and actually getting the information out to the community about this. My primary concern, I think, is living where I do. The traffic, California, up that hill is narrow and a very steep hill. And I forget the numbers on the number of units, but the increase of traffic to that specific corner, I think is going to be detrimental in a lot of different ways. But primarily, I think, like Jess said, the aesthetic of the community, this is just, I don't know if we can put that back up there, but it just looks like every other cookie cutter development that's sprung up around that corridor, around Dodge. It just lacks character, it lacks originality. We could just do so much better for that space and that neighborhood. And I think there's a lot of people in that community that feel very strongly about that as well.
Are you referring more to the residential or the commercial building itself? Both.
I mean, the aesthetic is kind of congruous across both.
Well, don't you think it's an improvement over what you've seen there now? I mean, it's kind of run down.
I mean,
it's viable, but it's still, it needs a refresh.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say about that. There's better is new and unoriginal, but cleaner necessarily better? I don't know. I think we could do a lot better with $100 million than make something that looks exactly like every other strip mall in West Omaha. I think there's an opportunity here to make something that is actually beneficial to the community as opposed to just a small number of investors.
I'm going to encourage, and I think we all will encourage additional communication. So all those ideas and suggestions that you have, I think will come to the surface.
Yeah, I think
eventually,
I
but-
think
but-
given the area there, they mentioned green space. I don't consider, a couple of trees on an island in between parking spaces green space. Like, there's an opportunity to actually revitalize that. I don't disagree with the notion that the rezoning is the zoning for general. It seems out of place for that area, but I think there's a lot more opportunity there for what we could do with that land. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Any other opponents? And again, fresh information, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be
Your
speaking.
name and address, please.
My name is Emily Anderson. I live at where do I live? 364 North 41st Street. Yes, I live and work and own a business in the neighborhood. I'd like to speak on the environmental issues. And I would want to start also by saying that this is a good place for infill development. Is it Mitch and Bob? I agree with you there. But I would also like to make some points about why this development as proposed is not the appropriate development for this site. For also reasons I agree with that have already been spoken on. But because this site sits along the creek bed, currently the City of Omaha is designing a new comprehensive plan to guide development. As you know, some of the guiding principles of the comprehensive plan are safety, affordability, sustainability, diversity, belonging, and connectivity. This development will not live up to those guiding principles. While it would be great to see a not massive parking lot at this site, a future development at this location must include greater pedestrian access with safe walking and biking connections from the east side of Saddle Creek to the west side of Saddle Creek, flood control along the creek, including green space, and particularly rain gardens serving as a buffer between the road and the hardscape of the development. These rain gardens could also be incorporated to contribute to pedestrian safety. These sorts of improvements are the types of things that could be covered by TIF funding and would contribute to the success and acceptance of this development. What must not be included in this development are underground parking stalls, they will flood. 100-year floods are happening now every 10 years, and even that is outdated information at this point. So I worry that this board does not think enough about the near future. There have been developments along Saddle Creek that were approved by this board only to be stopped at a later point in the process because they were too sensitive to flooding along Saddle Creek, and we are seeing it become a more regular occurrence, as well as more intense, as I mentioned, with 100-year floods happening every 10 years. This stretch of the creek is one of the worst in our city. Building a development at this location that does not include flood control and does include aspects that are sure to flood also has an effect on affordability. If this development is built without future flood conditions in mind, it will surely have to make insurance claims in the future. Those insurance claims will contribute to rising insurance rates of commercial and homeowners throughout our county and in the immediate area. Rising in affordability is fueled by many issues, and rising insurance costs is among them. This must be taken into account before approving developments that will definitely contribute to this issue. As many others have pointed out, this development does not include units that will be affordable to moderate to low income residents. We're facing a housing crisis, and while some may believe in trickle-down housing economics, the idea that building luxury apartments will clear up more affordable units, if it works at all, will take years to take effect. All new developments using TIF must include units that are affordable for moderate and low-income residents. I know that this has been a conversation at the city for some time and is a direction that many would like to move in. I have a wild suggestion that it should happen. let's make it happen and let's start today. And a bit of a repeat, just that the engagement around this development has been egregious and inconsiderate. Organizers were scrambling to get the word out with no help from developers. And of course, the opportunity to speak with developers about this idea was too late to affect the design. If the developer had used the readily available neighborhood directory and reached out to residents ahead of time, I very well might be here today in favor, but that was not the case. So in closing, this development is not in line with the comprehensive plan that the city is developing. While the plan does not exist yet, the guiding principles do. And this development is not in line with those either. Let's not wait until it's too late for those principles to guide us. Not only does this development not align with the guiding principles in theory, but in practice, I don't understand how a development that is sure to be delayed by, and once it is built, plagued by flooding, is a good financial decision for investors or for our city. So I would like to, make a move for a layover. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Emily.
Okay, any other opponents? Seeing none? Mitch, you want to come back up? And you got a lot to unpack there.
Well, I do appreciate the comments that we received today. Especially your name is slipping my mind, sir. I don't think we've had a chance. Yes. Steve. Okay, from Steve. So Steve is one of our tenants at Saddle Creek. But by example, as Steve brought up, Steve has a long-term lease, right, that we fully intend to honor. And Steve's in phase 4 of the project, by example, where he'll stay there for the next 4 to 5 years. So I appreciated Steve's comments. You could have come up here and, try to tear this thing apart. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the tenants that are at Saddle Creek, we're certainly going to respect their leases. And maybe they are going to be a long-term, part of this project. So I think I wanted to address that. On the neighborhood outreach, I'm a little frustrated by some of the comments tonight. I don't think they're accurate. We did reach out to, and this could be our fault, but we did reach out to the 2 neighborhood associations that were on the GIS, the Fabric Association and JCA, both of those.
When did you do that?
We did that as soon as we had TIF committee approval.
Just 2 weeks ago, you said?
Yeah, and that's kind of a key piece is we don't know that we have a project until that happens. So as soon as we had that, we reached out. I did reach out to Gray Mercy Park, and I have these emails to share, to set up with. So I'm not sure what the comments are that didn't happen. And I'm happy to forward all these emails, right? They're right. I can read it to you guys if you want. But I do have these emails. That was one association I just wasn't aware of, to be honest with you. It's a very large association that covers a massive footprint. So I think Don had passed along their contact information.
Had you received, sorry to interrupt you, but did you receive those emails that you sent? Did you receive responses from whoever it was that you emailed?
Yeah, and I got the meeting set up. So it was 6 days notice, which, I mean, Thanksgiving was there, guys. It just was what it was.
No, please, no.
So again, I'm happy to share the email change. I don't want to, sock back and forth. That's not a good use of our time, but happy to send staff the full email chain on setting those up. So no, we were happy to do that. I thought there was a lot of good feedback at that meeting. Folks care, right? I mean, I think this is a big piece of ground. They want to see a great project. And I think a lot of the feedback is, they want to see a project that is transformational for the area, which I think we've got a great shot to do. So, I mean, the fortunate part of this project is we aren't displacing anybody as part of it. I do think we have a unique opportunity to add 228 units. We have been very upfront that this is not an affordable housing project. This project doesn't happen if there's an affordable component to it. It has exorbitant site work. It's a significant lift. And I don't disagree. I mean, as a developer, it's extremely frustrating what you have to rent units out to have them make financial sense, right? That's just a challenge that we have to work with. But one of the pieces that Don brought to our attention this morning is I think part of our TIF application mentioned an affordable component from a previous application in the system. We have since corrected that. We did not know about that until this morning. So we made that update, but I was very clear at the neighborhood association meeting, this is not an affordable housing project. We're not pursuing LIHTC. We're not pursuing affordable housing funds. We're not trying to compete with those kind of projects. This project specifically is market rate. And we felt like it was the right thing to do to be upfront with that because that's what it's going to take for this thing to ultimately pencil. But we did make that correction to the application. And to my understanding, it was only mentioned on one page. And again, it was from a previous application in the portal. So that was our mistake. I'm just reading through my notes here.
You want to talk about the underground parking and the potential flooding issues that go along,
Sure.
possibly go along with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the notion that we're not invested in this community is a little frustrating too. We've got almost $30 million in real estate between 39th and Dodge and 46th and Dodge, right? So we are certainly invested in this community. 39th and Dodge is a similar project that has 2 levels of underground parking. It sits within a flood area. We haven't had any issues there. Joe, fortunately, from a civil standpoint, designed it correctly, I think, which we'll find out over the course of the next few years. But we've engaged TD2 to handle the civil design on this. We think they're well qualified. We think it'll meet all stormwater challenges on the site. Joe can probably speak to that in more detail if you guys would like. But we do have a qualified civil engaged on the project. So I hope to not have any issues there. From an environmental standpoint, we've done a phase 1, phase 2. Both of those were included in our TIF application. So I think on those 2 issues, that would be my response.
Mitch, I mean, with all the notes and the people that had commented here today and what you had at the meeting, I think there's a lot of room still for meeting with the neighborhood and the citizens of that community so that you can weigh some of their ideas and see what would work. And sometimes it doesn't, but the communication should be there so that as this thing moves along, that they're there to support it if and go, well, I'm not ever going to go there because that thing looks like a big box and that's it. And
For sure.
They don't want to support it. So, I mean, I hope that you guys will move along together and try to, make some inroads on the development design. And like I said, it's not always perfect and it's not always feasible, but, it's good to do that.
I think we're certainly committed to working with the community. And obviously, I mean, you guys have been a part of this a long time. You don't always get all the folks out here waving the flag of support that are supportive of the project. So I think there are a lot of people that are excited for this. I will tell you at 39th and Dodge, it started in a similar way, right? It was a big change. It was a big building to plunk down in that neighborhood. But ultimately today, I mean, I would encourage you to reach out to JCA and ask for what's your opinion of this, Yahoo from West Omaha. I think we've cultivated some pretty good relationships with the neighbors down there. I think we've been good neighbors. And I think we'll do the same thing here. But, I mean, to your point, I think we're really receptive to receiving that feedback. A lot of the feedback that we received that night we're taking into consideration. These designs are not final, right? Is this aesthetic going to change? I can guarantee you it's going to change, right? So if there's elements that we can bring into that, yeah, we're going to do that as we design this thing further. We want it to be something that the residents are proud of. There's a lot of business owners that were here today that we want their businesses to continue to thrive, right? We want them to come to this project. So I think those things are all, I mean, those are key things to having a successful project, and I'd say are items that we're committed to.
Just a comment, Lucas earlier referred to me as old, and I am. But I remember this area has transformed itself a couple of times over.
Yeah.
Right? And each time seems to be it gets better and better. So it's not unusual for this to happen periodically. I remember it used to be a bowling alley. I don't know if it was on that site. The Rose Bowl used to be on somewhere in that area. Yeah, in that area. But it's transformed. So it just happens that way. But I'm sorry, what was that?
I'd like the engineer to comment on some of the flooding concerns.
Yeah, sure.
Because I assume there's some that you could put some worries at bay.
Sure. Joe Detlefs, 10836 Old Mill Road. So I could just pull up the site here. This is our site right there at 802. This is this is off Douglas County, Omaha GIS. The blue line through Saddle Creek is the floodway, and then the light blue areas next to it is the floodplain. So you can kind of see that there are little pieces of maybe this side here that's included in the floodplain, but most of the site is out of the floodplain.
Well, but it's prone to flooding. That's Saddle Creek is.
Shadow Creek is, yes. The site itself is not in the floodplain.
So you get runoff from the hills in that area, right?
Yes.
I'm not an engineer, so I'm trying to understand if it's prone to flooding, you're getting runoff from the hills in that area, how's it not going to seep into underground areas?
Yeah. So the grades are, the underground areas, yeah, the underground parking will still, it's not going to be dug into, the grades going up towards 46th Street. So the parking garage would be built into the hill and not dug into
the ground.
Yes.
Well, and maybe address a little bit, so most of the site is developed at this time. So there would be some green space that would be removed, but any additional storm runoff that would be produced by the development would need to be handled on site per code, correct?
Yes, so any additional impervious areas that's added to the project, we would detain and meet the city regulations.
I can't imagine it gets more impervious than it already is today, though. I mean, it's a lot of concrete.
Yes. I mean, there is a little bit of green space in that corner, but yes, the runoff will meet whatever the existing conditions are.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. I think we've heard all the testimony. So, Eric, you want to go through the recommendations?
Yeah, I'll just touch briefly, and this was covered kind of at the start of the testimony by Bob, just mentioning the existing GI industrial zoning. Yeah, so the future land use map of Omaha's master plan does designate it for TOD, which is a form of commercial zoning in this context. There's different classifications of TOD, and we have sub-districts maps. So it's fully appropriate to rezone the site from GI to CC. It's correct. There could be several careful to say non-compatible, because we do allow industrial zoning adjacent to other residential and commercial districts, but by and large, it would be incompatible for the most part with potential uses that could go in the existing zoning right now. So the rezoning to CC as well as the MCC overlay. The MCC overlay is only a benefit that provides increased landscaping, higher building design requirements. So those are always a benefit for the neighborhood. So I just want to touch on that. That was number 18. We had that on the consent agenda just because it is overall a very beneficial for the entire area. I'm not going to touch too much on the TIF component, but yeah, I mentioned earlier we have a need for affordable housing throughout the city. We also have a need for just more housing units. So I don't need to stress and go into that. There was some testimony about that. So unless there's other questions or dialogue, I can give my recommendation for agenda item 8, and then we'll do a vote and then a separate motion for 18. You can continue conversations, but for agenda item 8, which is the TIF, staff recommends approval.
Okay, we'll take that motion first. So do I have a motion for that?
A motion to approve, but I do encourage continued conversations with neighborhood.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please record the vote.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you.
For agenda item 18, which is the rezoning, staff recommends approval of the expansion of the MCC overlay district and approval of the rezoning from GI to CC.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the expansion of the MCC overlay district and approval of the rezoning from GI to CC.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Thanks for all that came out and testified. I would encourage you continue to have dialogue with the neighborhood. I think they made some great points about maybe some ideas that could come out of any future communication. It is a neighborhood or a community within a community, right? We know that, and that's special. Special to them. So please engage the community with that. Okay.
I will add too, there's still a lot of time. There's a long approval runway still, and this is a multi-phase project. I really feel like this was a good opportunity to get everybody together and set the precedent for communication moving forward. So I just wanted to remind everyone of that.
Okay, thank you all. All right, where are we here? All right, we've got item 9, which is KC 320-244. The request is approval of substantial amendment to the 2021 annual action plan. Who's going to talk on that? Greg. Kelly? Greg. Oh, Greg. Oh, Greg? Okay, good.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Craig Paskatch, Planning Department. The substantial amendment proposes to add language to the home ARP allocation plan, stating that funding levels targeted by activity are estimates, and actual funding amounts will be contingent upon applications received through the request for proposal process, the scores of those applications, and the ability of those applications to pass underwriting requirements. So this is really a request for administrative flexibility to ensure that we can respond to challenges the conditional awarded projects are running into, and we can expend the funds in a timely manner. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Eric, oh, yeah. Do we have any proponents of this measure? Seeing none, do we have any opponents? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Eric.
I don't have anything to add. Thanks for sticking around, Greg. The staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Stepped out.
Stepped down.
Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 5-0.
Thank you.
24.
Okay, I think we're on 24 now. Yeah. Okay, item 24, which is KC 813-225. The applicant is Brett Kluwer for Coffee Tree Country Club. The request is approval of a major amendment to the presumed special use permit pursuant to section 55883Q to allow outdoor sports and recreation in an AG agricultural district. The location is 2410 South 217th Street. May we hear from the applicant?
Good afternoon.
Hi, Doug.
Doug Dreesen, 10836 Old Mill Road. I have with me today Brett Kluwer, the developer, Mark Johnson, the attorney representing, and also the attorney for the SID out there. Those of you that have been on the board for a while probably remember this project, perhaps from multiple times. It's the old Skyline Woods golf course, which used to be way out in the middle of nowhere, but now is almost
I was a member about 100 years ago.
In town. So we're here. Brett's a golf enthusiast, and he'd like to get the golf course running as soon as possible. Recently purchased the property. We're here focusing on the golf course operation only. We want to get going early in the spring, cleaning everything up, getting it ready to go. I'm not a golfer, but at the very beginning, it's going to be kind of a Spartan cart barn, check-in area, and then off you go. Not what you remember from when your membership first started. Ultimately, we want to work towards that, though, but we need to get off the ground. We did hold a neighborhood meeting that we initiated. However, it was on a tight timeline. We had 125 people or so at Valley View Middle School last night, and I will say of my 40 years of doing these, it was one of it's easily in the top 3 of positive outcome from the neighbors. I think there's a strong sentiment that they'd like to see that golf course restored and things cleaned up around it. I think it's been closed for probably 20 years now. The staff's been very helpful working with us. As some of you, I'm sure, are aware, it's a complicated situation out there. We've got a Supreme Court ruling, all kinds of unusual things. But we think this is the first step getting us back to what used to be kind of a gem around the city with golf course. Those of you that are golfers, we're hoping that you'll be interested in perhaps a membership or maybe finding a friend that'll get you onto the course. With that, we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Doug. Any other proponents going to speak? I do have a question. Is the funding in place for all this?
Yes.
Okay, because it's not inexpensive to develop a golf course.
No, it isn't.
Right? So when you say you want to start this next year, I mean, everything's got to be in place and ready to go.
Yes, that's correct. And there's been conversation with various contractors. There's a lot of deadfall wood that needs to be cleaned up. There's a laundry list of things that need to be done out there. Most of which is probably getting the fairways and the greens and the tee boxes in shape. I don't think that's, like me cutting my grass. I think there's a lot more that goes into it than that. So you need to get off to a good start early on.
And is litigation completely over now with this? Is there any pending litigation that's existing on the property?
Call up the lawyer. Mark Johnson, 11440 West Center Road here, obviously representing the applicant. To my knowledge, there's no litigation. That was about 20 years ago. The court mandated that the property be maintained and operated as a golf course and a golf course only. Obviously, it hasn't been a golf course, but the Supreme Court ruled that that's the only thing it can be. So we're here today to take the first step to make that happen.
Okay, that's good.
And let me just clarify, golf course development, okay? Because we may be back here in a couple months on another piece of this that was included with the application, those 16 lots that were located on Center Road, just north of Center Road. We showed that on the plan to be transparent with the neighborhood because of that history. Some prior developers wanted to do something significantly different than a golf course, right, which included some residential. This is starkly different than that. We're going to get our 18-hole championship golf course, and then potentially down the road submit an application for those additional 16 lots, as well as the future phases, as Doug represented, for the remainder of the golf course improvements, the clubhouse, pool, restaurant, that sort of stuff, training facility. Brett will come up here and talk to you guys for a couple hours about how awesome all that's going to be. But it's been a long meeting, so we won't do that unless you have questions on that. And again, all of that we understand. We talk to the neighbors. That's all part of a subsequent applications and approval processes and conversations with you folks and city council. So we understand that. Yeah.
They could be playing golf out there. Is it 2 years? Is
I
it
believe,
one?
yeah. Brett's words were a tee in the ground November 1st next year.
No,
so it's
really?
Against his lawyer's advice. he owns the ground before we finish this process, but he's, obviously it's a calculated risk. With the Supreme Court case, this can only be a golf course. We've had some initial conversations with staff about city's sentiment on a golf course, and it hasn't changed, obviously. So he owns the property. He's ready to go as soon as we get city council approval on the special use permit application.
Practical question.
Sure.
I guess where are these 16 lots? Are those just that parcel that used to be the driving range then?
That's correct. And again, that's not part of this application.
I understand, but that's part of your plan.
Yep, comprehensive plan, yep.
Now, you've got two other kind of isolated parcels there between 14 and 17 and between 18 and 7. that are accepted parcel A is what they're or noted as. What are those?
I'm sorry, yeah, along Old West Center?
No, these are north of there, along, next to Ranch View Estates.
Mr. Serco, the prior owner, owns those parcels still, if that's what you're referring
And
to.
so they'll never be part of this?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
now I've got other questions about the golf course. That's gone to wild, for almost 20 years. And so how do you restore that grass in a couple months? My dad was a golf course superintendent, so I understand that a little bit.
I'm going to let Mr. Kluwer answer that because he's had those
And then
conversations with his architect.
the irrigation as well. I
Yep,
guess.
yep,
And these
yep.
aren't issues for us.
Yep,
but
no,
I'm just
absolutely.
curious.
You bet.
Hi, Brett Klur, 2541 South 221st Circle, Elkhorn, Nebraska. Peter Jacobson is the course designer, PGA Tour player, longtime current announcer on the tour. He's a designer, and then Larry Rogers is the irrigation, and we've had both of them up here recently. I've been after the project for 11 years, 3 different times. I've been down the road, so we've had these conversations many, many times.
So it's going to be, the irrigation's going to be replaced? Or?
Yes, so we're going to start all brand new. We're not going to cut any corners. This is not just bringing the golf course back up.
Okay.
This
Do you have
is
to kill all the grass and
Yeah.
do all that stuff? Okay.
Yeah, they'll strip it all down and grow it all back, hydro seed and get it all going
And
back.
regrade the greens and all that stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, that seems pretty aggressive timeline for.
Yeah, I asked them,
not
and
cheap.
when they both
It's
said
not
it,
cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap, and it's a lot quicker than I was expecting, but yeah, they said barring any unforeseen weather, we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I was telling you in the pre-meeting, I used to hit my golf balls out of bounds in a cornfield, which
Yes.
is now houses. So are you
Yeah.
going to is there going to be netting or some sort of protective?
We don't have any plans for any netting. Most folks don't like to see netting on the course, and this
Yeah.
is going to be a high-end country club. There are trees that on the boundaries all across the golf course, and I've met with homeowners, many of them, and we had our neighborhood meeting. We'll address any of those on a one-by-one basis, with what we can do to help out anywhere.
So how, since this is starting out with, would you term it minimalist? In other words, you're going to have your cart barn and just a room to basically register or pay your fees. So this is an ownership plan?
Yes.
So people have to, are going to buy into a minimalist, and then do they have assessments later, or how does that all work?
They're just regular, we're selling regular memberships to the golf course, and it's phased out. So phase 2 has different pieces to it, clubhouse pool being one of those. There's a 19th hole, and then there's a training facility,
And then their
indoor.
membership fee changes as it goes?
No, the fee doesn't change. I mean, other than just naturally, if your dues go up over time, but it's fixed now, and the initiation fees will go up as the memberships come in. This is kind of pre-construction membership now, and the demand has been unbelievable. I haven't put anything out publicly other than the neighborhood meeting, and my email is just filled.
And you live in the neighborhood?
I do.
You'll have to let us know.
Will do.
Well, I still
Assuming it
live-
gets approved here.
I still live near there, so.
Thanks, Brad.
Well, good luck. That's a very aggressive timeline. Good luck on that. All right. Do we have any other proponents? Have any opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric?
All right, well, we went through some of the history earlier. I don't need to recap on that, and there's nobody here to oppose, so, you know, the answer was, or the question was just answered about no netting and things, and we remain silent in our recommendation report, but obviously we do encourage just continued coordination with adjacent homes and neighborhoods. Obviously, we have 2 neighborhoods that have since been built since when this was last active. So obviously, we just encourage that, but we didn't feel it was appropriate for staff to dictate any of that. So just wanted to mention that. That being said, staff recommends approval of a major amendment to the presumed special use permit, subject to the 14 conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Recommend approval of the major amendment to the presumed special use permit pursuant to section 55884Q to allow outdoor sports and recreation in an AG district, subject to the 14 conditions in the recommendation report.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo? Moore? Rupert? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. All right, our last
you
item
very
is thank you. Good luck to you. Item 29, KC 725-296. The applicant is Brian Falcone. Request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the DR district. Property is located within the FF Flood Fringe Overlay District, location 25705 Blondo Street. May we hear from the applicant?
Kyle Haase with the ANA Consulting Group, 10909 Mill Valley Road, representing the applicant. We have a 4.5 acre lot on 257th and Blondo. There's a current home on the property. The applicant is looking to build a new home around the middle of the property and keep the existing home as an ADU use. The applicant is willing to meet all recommendations of the approval. With that, I'll make myself available for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Any opponents? Been here all day?
I have.
Thanks for
Squeezing
sticking
my
around.
butt off here.
Yeah.
Michael Norton, 25555 Blondo Street. I'll try and keep my comments to an hour or less. I'm going to refer to a few materials, but you already have them in the file. First of all, I don't have any objection to the new house. It looks awesome. It's going to be a great add to the site, and we're all homeowner association, we're all looking forward to it. But I do have some concerns about the existing structures on the site. I was hoping they'd disappear, but I guess they won't. So I have 4 items I'd like to discuss. The first is how the current site condition impacts actually granting this permit. So I'll just. So this is the stuff that the applicant provided. This is the site right here. You can see the existing home and conglomeration of buildings and stuff down here. In orange, I highlighted where they're going to propose to build the new house. And then about 2 acres left fronting it that they really haven't told us what they want to do. And just for reference, I live right here. This is the site plan the applicant provided. Again, showing with labeling over the existing house here, pool patio, what they're calling a garage and a shed, and this area in the middle, which was surcharged, I think, by the prior tenant. They had construction equipment there. It's kind of hard to get a good view of what's happening there by just that. So I took some additional shots. This is the site from the east looking west. And here you can see the existing house they reference. This metal building is what they call a garage. And this is the shed, this huge concrete pad that they constructed with the pool and the patio. They do not include in their documents this recently completed metal building, pretty significant size, with a concrete pad in front of it, and the annoying chicken coop that was added with the roosters that wake me up. So they did not include that information on the materials they provided. This is a view from the south, so you can see what's going on there. This is what they call the driveway, all this gravel and dirt, and you can see the current site condition as it exists today. So I've heard Mr. England speak at these hearings that size doesn't matter. Sorry, ADU size doesn't matter.
We're referring to ADUs for the record.
As long as it's smaller than the PDU. Well, I find that surprising. I'm not going to argue with him about that at all. But I don't know what the planning board's thoughts are on whether can an ADU itself have its own accessory buildings. Is there any limitation on what those buildings can be used for? And do you have to include the square footage of all those buildings in determining the ADU size? So it'd be good to hear that.
where you're going for that. And I will also note that, getting back to my point about the missing information, the planning board's comment here that failure to include all structures may require resubmittal. So those other buildings weren't included. So I don't know if that's a big deal, but they weren't there. The second I'd like to talk about is the location of the new building, the new house. So again, as they've provided here, this is all the existing stuff toward the back, and kind of the center back is where they're going to put the new house. It's kind of surprising that they would put it there, where the backyard is basically all these metal buildings, and leave the front empty unless they have plans to do something with the front. I don't know if they can. I don't know if the staff has talked to them about why they put it there, but I find that weird, particularly since they paid $700,000 for this stuff, and why you'd want to put a really nice house in the back next to that stuff. I don't really understand it. So that's the second point. The third is just curious, how does the staff ensure compliance? Bless you, Jennifer. How does the staff ensure compliance with the no more than 3 unrelated parties? There was nothing in the file on that. It looks like Lindsay Danker recently bought this property. She's a real estate developer of multifamily residences for Lund. The drawing shows it's going to be the Danker-Hargens residence. I don't know what Miss Danker or Mr. and Mrs. Hargens' relationship is, if they're related. There's currently a number of people, multiple vehicles living in the house and back. I don't know if they're related to anybody, but just curious how you guys ensure compliance with that, because it wasn't in the file. And the last thing I'm just curious about is, in your documents referencing sewer and sewer connections, it's all septic. We don't have water, gas, or sewer out there. So I just didn't know what you meant by those comments. It's acceptable. Maybe just septic is good. But that's really it. Again, I don't have any issues with the house, the new house, but I really wouldn't think that the 1,500 square foot house and 5, 6 metal buildings really is what you meant by an ADU, but you guys make that call. That's all I have.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right. Are there any other opponents that wish to speak? Seeing
Lori Moranti, 25837 Blondo Street. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I do want to know if it's a single-family home.
Okay. We'll get you that answer.
Okay. And there's a reason that I've asked that, because the seller of the property prior has made the claim that it's barn dominiums. And so I want to know if it's a single-family home.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. We'll have the applicant come back up then.
Kyle Hazy, ENA Consulting Group, 10909 Mill Valley Road. Yes, it will be a single-family residence on that for the home. As far as location of the home, that's the preference that the homeowner wanted. I guess I don't have any real knowledge, I guess, on why they chose that certain location.
Okay. Thank you. All right. No other opponents. I'll close the public hearing. Eric?
Yeah, so we've obviously had several conversations about ADUs in the recent months, and we had 6 actually on today's agenda, which is by far the most that we've had. They kind of vary in form and style. We had one that was an internal unit, so it was a basement unit. We've had several others that are your common detached units. Occasionally we've had attached as well in the past, but it's been a little surprising since we implemented the new ADU code early 2024. The number of large ADUs that we have seen on the the larger tracts of land, maybe more in our suburban parts of the city and jurisdiction. So here's another example. Really when the code is developed, and typically when you think of ADU, it's that smaller detached unit in the backyard, kind of infill housing option. But we definitely have experienced several examples such as this where it's a very large structure, and as a result, because of the way the code is worded, the new structure that is being built is considered the primary dwelling unit, and the existing structure converts to the ADU. Our zoning code does not have a specific size limitation on square footage for an ADU, so that's one of the reasons we felt that we should just defer to the building and impervious coverages that are allowed with the base zoning district. Now you do get a increase in that with an ADU unit of about 10% for those coverages. So, I guess the comment about, size doesn't matter. The way the code was written is, we don't have a set limit on square footage for accessory dwelling units. So we defer to the building and impervious coverages, like I said. As far as outbuildings, the code the ADU code does not get into any specific details about prohibiting or allowing accessory outbuilding structures. So all of those would be factored into the building coverage. Obviously, this is a much larger site. I don't know what their overall percentage is. I don't think I have that information available, but I'd have to look it up. But it's such a smaller coverage that what will be there after the new structure compared to a much smaller site that we would calculate that. As far as, I guess I would, hopefully all of those structures have been properly permitted. I don't know. The one that's close to the eastern property line, I would question. I don't know the size of that structure, but it does not likely meet setback requirements. So that is something that we can look at as a follow-up to this, and making sure that those proper buildings have been properly permitted. As far as chickens, not a chicken expert, but I know that Douglas County Health Department is currently putting together a new code. Roosters are not allowed. I don't believe in any location in Douglas County, but I'm not the expert on that. But I believe that new code is going to City Council in the next few weeks. So just throwing that out there for the neighbor if he does have concerns and wants to reach out to them, just to make sure the applicant is following those rules. As far as how do we verify compliance with less than or no more than 3 unrelated individuals living on a property, so that does apply when we have an ADU. So the ADU and the primary dwelling combined, there can be no more than 3 unrelated persons living on the site. That is very challenging for any location throughout the city. In fact, one of the most challenging things that our code enforcement division has to deal with is proving that. And the reasoning is because a related person isn't necessarily just one individual. It could be a family unit. So, if me and my 3 kids were in a house, it's not 4 people, it's counted as one family unit. The easiest example is if you had, 4 college kids that are, unrelated, if they're all living in one house, or in this case, combined between the primary and dwelling unit. If they're 4 unrelated college kids, that's an easy example. But in reality, it gets much more complicated. But if there are suspicions, we operate on a complaint basis. So, we can look into it, but I do acknowledge it's challenging. But, that's something that our staff is willing to do if there is a concern that that's not being followed. I don't think I have other comments. I can't speak to the positioning or why it's located or responding to the application. So, I would defer to the applicant on that. But I don't know if there were any other questions
There's no
that the board
requirement
has.
where it's located.
No, I mean, it has to meet the applicable, setbacks and things like that. Oh, the 885 review about the sewage comment, that probably should have been worded differently. Obviously, this is septic system, so they'll be required to coordinate with Douglas County Health Department, making sure the appropriate septic approvals are in place. So my apologies if that probably should have been worded differently in the report. So obviously, there's not sanitary sewer service in this location. So that being said, staff recommends approval of a conditional use permit to allow an ADU in the DR district, subject to the 7 conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the DR district. Property is located in flood fringe overlay district, subject to the 7 conditions in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Approved 6-0.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for staying.
Thanks.
All right, that concludes the meeting. However, we have one member of the board whose last meeting is today. First of all, we got to plug in his jacket.
Plug in your jacket.
Mr. Jeff Moore is leaving the board, so board, if you have any comments you'd like to leave with Jeff, now's the appropriate time.
It's been a true honor to serve on the board. It's a very important board, and I've been lucky enough to serve with some outstanding people, and I consider you all friends and look forward to seeing you down the road.
Hope you do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you for sharing your time with us, and I've enjoyed working with you, and we'll be missing you.
You too. Yeah. Thank you.
Been a pleasure, Jeff. Let's play some golf.
You got it.
Hey, there you go.
We just approved one.
well, let's join it.
I know where to go.
Well, Jeff, I guess I'll say on behalf of the planning department, and sorry our director cannot attend today, but you'll see him around some. So we appreciate your service. You've served on the board since December 15th, 2016. So just think of all the cases and projects that you've had a part on and voted on. So we've always appreciate your your perspective and just valuing both, the applicants, opposition, the neighborhood. I always felt that you were very, very appropriate on your level and questions, and so we do appreciate it. And we have a frame that we'd like to give for you up front and take a few pictures.
Very nice.
Before we do, let me comment, Jeff, but I've gotten to know you very well over the course of years there, and I know you're moving, which is why you're leaving the board, and we wish you well with that. But very logical individual when it comes to the questions, and that is so valuable, I think, and really appreciate all of the work that you've done for the city of Omaha over those, 9 years? 9 years? 9 years, that's a long time. Like I said, you're going to miss that supplemental income, though.
Free lunch.
But we wish you well, and Steve, please stay in contact with
I
us,
will.
and for sure we'll play some golf.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anything else?
Well, Jeff, let's meet out front and get a few,
All right.
take a few pictures.
We need to close it out first, or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, all right, we
We
got to
got
approve the
minutes.
minutes. Approve the minutes first. I need a motion to approve the pre-meeting and regular meeting minutes from.
Motion to approve the pre-meeting and minutes of last month.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
You and I are just going to be all over.